Okay. All right, all right, all right. Hey, everyone. I take a quick phone call just there, but we are back. I think. Oh, there are 3 people in here. That's good. That's cool. That's cool. Good, good. Everyone say hello to each other. I'm not quite sure who's watching, but hello to you. Oh, hello there, Danger. Oh, hello, 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 everybody. My friend, I've arrived for my supply. Well, you're gonna get your supply of worm tonight. We're finishing up Arc 4. By the way, if any of you want to, either reread sections or sections you're confused about, or if you just want to, like, I don't know, listen to my voice again for whatever reason, all the VODs are up on my YouTube channel. Everything from Arc 4 Part 1 onward. I mean, everything from Arc 3 and the first part of 4 are up on my YouTube channel. So, if you want to catch up, like if you're like Denger and you haven't really caught up, you haven't been really keeping track, you can. But if you want to, it's selfless plug. I'm trying to help y'all out. Trying to help y'all out. Are you guys? Like, subscribe, ring the bell. Make sure I get sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Yes, it's exactly what I'm asking you to do. I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna give it like a couple more minutes. How's everybody doing? Everybody good? Everybody wonderful? I woke up for the first time in like many months, past like 10 today, and it was bizarre. I felt like I was in a different world. I woke up at 11. I was just like, oh god, so much of the day is gone already. I woke up at 2. Oh my god. At that point, I would just keep sleeping. Like, force myself to go back into, like, my permacoma. Yeah, I know you woke up at 3. That's your regular wake-up time. I know you. It was fucking 7 in the morning. Like a madman. Yeah, we'll give it like 3 more minutes. Just let anyone who else wants to get in here get in here. Oh, hello. Hey. How's everybody doing? Look, all my boys and girl, one singular femoid in the chat are here. What's waking up? I have no fucking clue. I have no fucking clue. I'm constantly asleep. Just gotta keep waking him up until 4 a.m. The way he's sleeping till 3. No! You have no idea how much work I'd lose from sleeping that much? Yeah, Diego, I don't know if you'd want to I mean, I encourage, like, you know, views of my streams and everything. I don't know if you'd want to read or listen to me read this, because we're 4 arcs in and there's quite a lot of stuff this just happened. I don't know if you want to, like, just kind of let this play in the background, not really pay attention to what I'm saying, but there is going to be, like, some pivotal stuff going on that I'm going to need to explain. You know, I don't want to have to interrupt the stream to be like, oh, by the way, this is this. But you're more than welcome to just stay and have my voice play in the background if you just want to give me, or just mute my voice and just give me the viewership if you really want to. That would be greatly appreciated. Do you read this ahead of time? I've read Worm already, so I know, I have like a vague idea of what's gonna happen. But I don't read these ahead of time. These are all like just completely out. I don't like rehearse, if that's what you're talking about, reading these beforehand. No, these are all just off the cuff. Which is why I need to keep track of everybody's voices. All right, we'll give it till, oh, we're at 10. We're like 10 minutes early. We'll give it one more minute. I can get some sip of water in me. Gather round, children. It is Worm time. So we're at an interlude right now. So actually I didn't know this. I'm not quite sure why. This is called the apology interlude. I'm not quite sure what the author did that needed an apology. I assume that whatever he uploaded just wasn't good enough for the standard that he wanted it to be, and that he uploaded this in its place eventually. Because this is a real interesting interlude. I remember this one pretty clearly. Yeah. Yeah, I remember this one pretty clearly. I don't remember what the apology was for, but I assume that it was just because it wasn't up to the snuff of what the author was capable of, and he just wanted to get something better out there. But yeah, we can start. I say we start. So, yeah, everybody get comfy. Everybody grab yourself a drink. Everybody grab yourself a snack if you want to. And, enjoy some Worm. Interlude 3.5. Caden crouched by the crib, her arms folded over the edge, watching her baby's chest rise and fall. She felt at peace. Aster was perfect, flawless, untainted by chaos and the evils of the world beyond the apartment and the nursery. Even in her waking moments, she wasn't much overly demanding, quick to reduce her wails to quiet whimpers when she heard the assurance that food, company, or a diaper change were on the way. Not that she understood, of course, but she trusted her mother would provide. Caden couldn't ask for more. Literally, there was nothing Aster could do, have, or be that would make her better than she was. In an odd way, Caden supposed she took refuge in Aster. She found, succor? In the company of, I don't know how to pronounce that word, actually. In the company, so thank you for following, Diego. Much appreciated. She, in the midst of a world she had little hope for. I think that said you're following, at least. Caden gave birth to Empress Teresa. She did! Aster is Empress Teresa, yes. It's true. The worlds are colliding. In the midst of a world she had little hope for. It took willpower to force herself to step away, to quietly step from the nursery and half close the door behind her, when she saw pudgy 15-year-old Theo standing in front of the television. She was monumentally disoriented. Then she felt a stab of guilt. She'd forgotten about the boy in the midst of caring for Aster and her preparations for the night. Theo, I'm sorry, she spoke. The boy had been captivated by the final votes of some reality TV show, but he didn't give a second's thought to muting the TV and giving Caden his full attention. I've been so preoccupied, I haven't fed you. That's okay, Theo answered her, breaking eye contact. It wasn't. Look, I'm going out in costume? Yeah, Caden replied. She tried to read the expression on the boy's face, but Theo was a stone wall. He had to be, really, with what he'd grown up with. Resisting the urge to comment or push the boy to offer some commentary, criticism, or support, Caden continued, I'm leaving you $30 on the kitchen table. If you use it to order out, please feel free. Otherwise, raid my cupboards, my fridge, or use the money to go down to the convenience store in the lobby, okay? If you decide to rent a movie, leave it here for me to take back. I might want to watch it. Caden smiled, trying to coax a matching expression from him. Okay, Theo said, his face blank. When will we be back? In time to take you back to your dad's, Caden almost said, and she had an idea. I might be late. Would it be okay for you to spend the night? You just have to check in on Aster every few hours, keep an ear out in case she cries. I'll pay you in full for the night's babysitting. The times when Theo let a glimmer of emotion show were few and far between. A smile, genuine, touched Theo's face and almost broke Caden's heart in the process. I'd love to, Theo replied, meaning it. Then it's settled. Sorry to interrupt your show, she said. It's fine, Theo said, just a touch too fast. It wasn't fine, apparently, but he would never admit it. Could never admit it. Caden felt a flicker of hatred for the man who had eroded every ounce of personality and assertiveness from his son. She would give her right hand for a smart aleck remark, roll the eyes, or be ignored in favor of a TV show. She had to console herself that she was at least giving Theo a night's respite from the man. It wasn't enough, of course, but there was so little she could do. All she could offer were small kindnesses, little gestures of love and affection, hope they helped. With that in mind, Caden took the time to get some sheets out and set up the other couch so Theo would be comfortable when he was done watching TV. When that was done, she double-checked the TV to see she wasn't interrupting anything and told Theo, "Wish me luck." "Good luck," the boy replied, in a tone that was all affection. The false words stung Caden more if Theo hadn't said anything at all. Tonight wasn't the night to confront the issue. She left the apartment, locking the door behind her. She took the stairs up to the roof and shucked off her bathrobe. The garment went in the gap between two floorboards where nobody would find it unless they were looking for it. Then she stepped off the edge of the roof. The wind ripped at her hair, blew cold against her face. As she tumbled head over heels, seeing only glimpses of streetlights and cars below her, she waited. Her apartment building was 15 stories tall, which gave her less time than one might expect. All it would take was 1 second of doubt, one mistake, a momentary hesitation, and she would hit the ground. Aster. It was fitting that she had thought of her daughter. She always did. These days, every time she jumped. It had become a ritual, as though she couldn't set out to clean up the city if she didn't remind herself why she was doing it. Energy suffused her body. The entire sky lit up a brilliant, blinding flash of light. By the time the spots cleared from the eyes of people on the street, she was already gone, hurling down over downtown Brockton Bay, a white trail of light following behind her. Caden didn't wear a mask, but it wasn't necessary. With her powers active, her brown hair and eyes had become a radiant white, emanating a light so brilliant that it was impossible to look straight at her. The fabric of her alabaster costume, too, radiating with a soft glow that rippled like light on the surface of the water. Her usual routine was to patrol for an hour or two, get a sense of things, and take action when she thought it was most appropriate. Tonight, though, she was frustrated, and she hadn't even begun. A year ago, she had made the ABB a priority target. 3 to 5 times a week, she had carried out surgical strikes at the low-level operations of the gang, interrupting shipments, beating up dealers and thugs, attacking their places of business, and all the while she had been gathering information. That information had paid off from time to time. She had clashed directly with Lung on no less than 4 occasions, had encountered Oni Lee on 2. In all but one of those encounters, she had successfully forced them to retreat, to abandon whatever it was they were doing at the time. Those were good days. There had been bad days too. Most of the time she had made a point to rough up the lower level members of the gang where she'd taken them down, enough to make them reconsider their career choice, make them consider going to another town. At one point, Lung had set a trap for her, and succeeded in returning her the favor. It had taken her 2 months to recuperate from all of her injuries. Other days, which were somehow worse, she found herself struggling to make a difference, coming to the dawning realization that she had failed to change things. This week had been a long series of those bad days. When she'd read in the news that Lung had been apprehended, she'd cleared her schedule. Caden had taken her vacation days and called Theo about babysitting. It had been the best of chances she'd get, she thought, to clean up the ABB once and for all. Get that scum out of her city while they were leaderless. 5 of her 7 vacation days had passed and she'd accomplished nothing, less than nothing. They were getting stronger. Breaking her usual patrol route, she headed up to the northern part of the city and to investigate the docks. It was an empty of ABB members, aside from the 2 Korean girls who were taking a break from turning tricks near the ferry, talking to their aged, fat, matronly pimp. Caden resisted the urge to take action and run them off, resisted grilling them for information. She had done that with the last group with a group of dealers and accomplished little to nothing. The ABB were still active. Even with their boss gone, they were more organized than they had been under Lung's influence. But her interrogations had failed to get any details on why. Even broken arms and legs hadn't hurt or scared the thugs enough to get them from talking about what was going on. This was a situation, usually where Caden would go to informants for information, resurrect old alliances and help in squashing the ABB before they could get their footing again. She had hunted down old buddies, contracts, and teammates 3 days ago and had been frustrated by the lack of response, the lack of enthusiasm. Max, Theo's father, was to blame for that. Just as she'd left his team a more broken person than she'd been when she joined, others had gone through the same experience. With charisma and a keen sense of people, Max had convinced people from across the country to join his team. Just as easily, he tore them apart without realizing he was doing it. Confidence broken, racked by doubts, paranoid regarding everyone except the one man that had caused the paranoia in the first place, they'd splintered off the team. Not that Max minded. There was always a fresh supply of bright-eyed recruits ready to replace anyone that he broke. Now most of the gang was gone, quite possibly on a big job, and she had no idea where. She had no idea where to find out. Caden grit her teeth. This wasn't working. If she was going to make any headway before her vacation days were up, she'd have to act now, make a deal with the devil. She returned downtown. It was hard to navigate the streets from so high up, even if there were roads she traveled on a daily basis as her uncostumed self. From there, the buildings all looked the same, with mirrored outsides and gravel rooftops. Twice, she circled around the top floors of the wrong buildings, looking for the logo set on the side of the building where would mark Max's building apart from the others. The black crown against a red and yellow background. She stopped when she saw it, cursed under her breath. When she approached, she saw him, still in his office. Not so unusual, he'd worked late during every night of their marriage. He had a laptop in front of him, a sandwich and a paper wrapping to his right, and an array of papers spread over the desk to his left. He swiveled around to face her as she got up close to the window, smiled softly. Damn him. He was 5 years older than her, pushing 35, and he was still the best-looking man she'd ever looked in the eye. Even the wrinkles at the corner of his eyes only made him more attractive. He'd taken off his tie and suit jacket, and the sleeves of his shirt were rolled halfway up his forearms, forcing her to note he was still working out. He lifts. He waited, his hands clasped over his stomach, the faintest expression of amusement on his face. She knew he was capable of opening the window to his office. He was waiting for her to ask to come inside. It was sort of the little power game he was so fond of. On another night, she would have tested her will against his, to no avail usually, but she would have tried. It probably would have ended with her flying away, making it clear that she would do without his assistance. Tonight, though, she felt the frustration of her fruitless vacation and brought herself to reach out and knock on the window. Before she could wrap her knuckles against it a second time, it clicked and opened upward. She navigated her way around it to make her way inside. He hadn't seemed to move a muscle when he opened the window. He liked little demonstrations of like that. She set foot on the carpet of the office and let the light glowing within her fade. Her hair stopped stirring and writhing in response to the energy rippling through it, going limp and turning brown. Her eyes dimmed to their dark hazel color. She could hear a click followed by the faintest of hisses as the window slowly closed behind her. I'm trying to do the best Matthew McConaughey voice. Like Matthew McConaughey being a fucking sleazy car dealer voice. Or like, not even just Matthew McConaughey, like sleazebag, but like smart sleazebag. Because this is exactly what this character. He's a piece of shit. I fucking hate this character, but you're kind of meant to hate him. Caden, it's been a while. He managed to greet her and make it sound like a criticism in the same breath. He half turned to type on his computer, and the lights in his office adjusted to a halogen glare. She shut her eyes briefly and basked in the glow, feeling her internal supply of energy recharge. Max, thank you for the light. You're fine, I take it. I'm fine. And our daughter? Aster's well, she said, as calmly as possible, as her heartbeat pounded in her ears. She knew he didn't really care. He was letting her know that he hadn't forgotten about Aster, reminding her that he, at any time, at any moment, could take custody of her baby girl. He had the money. He had the contracts. She'd be helpless to stop him. She remembered to mention he was babysitting her tonight. I know. He called a little earlier to ask if he could spend the night. I told him it was fine. It'll do him good to spend time with you and Aster. Some female influence in his life. Caden answered with a curt nod. To anyone else, this conversation would have sounded perfectly innocent. As someone who had worked alongside Max for 10 years and had been married to him once, she knew it was all negotiation. He made it clear he was doing her a favor, and he'd expect recompense at some point, tonight or a week from now. It was how he was, always playing for power, for advantage, for dominance. All the while, he was doing it in a way that you wouldn't call confront. You couldn't confront. If she called him on it, he'd play innocent and she'd look like the crazy one, the one in the wrong, sometimes even to herself. So, what can I do for you? He leaned back in his seat. The ABB's lacking leadership, or at least lacking experienced leadership. I want to take them down before they regroup. To do that, I'm waiting to reunite our old team. And you're admitting you can't do it without my help. Yes, it pained her to admit. Not interested, he said, spinning around in his chair to face the computer. There was a click, and the window behind Caden began to open again. As the air flew in from outside, a strand of hair blew across her face. She tucked it behind her ear. I've talked to the others, but nobody that's worked with you is willing to be the first to join me. Some say they're worried they'll offend you. Oh wait, is this Caden? Oh no, this is Caden talking. I've talked to the others, but nobody that's worked with you is willing to be the first to join me. Some say they're worried that they'll offend you. Others are just spooked or they've already given up. They asked me why a group of your rejects could do any better than they'd managed as part of your team. I'm not getting anywhere and time is running out. All it would take would be one word from you and I'd have a team of 4 or 5 people. With that, I could root out and squash the ABB. Jared Leto? I mean, I don't imagine. He's more like buff than Jared Leto. Max stood up, but I get what you're saying. Sort of, kinda. Max stood up and sat on the edge of his desk, so he was facing Caden. I don't see it being worth the effort. What's in it for me? The ABB would be gone for starters. They'll be gone eventually. I'm patient. What else? I don't have anything else to offer you, Max, she answered. That was a lie. She knew the closest thing she had to a bargaining chip was something she would never give up in a million years. Never asked her. I want you on my team again. No. You'll be my second in command. I'd talk to the old members of the team and then get them form a separate group to work under you. You'd double-check with me on anything you did, but other than that, you'd be completely autonomous. Feel free to use your team as you see fit. Other than that, she thought, and if, as if it was inconsequential to be checking in with him on every move she made. I don't agree with the way you do things. I don't want to be associated with you. He laughed, throaty, deep, rich, while she stood there in stony silence. Caden, he said when he stopped, you're already associated with me. People say our names in the same breath, even when we haven't worked together in 2 years. When my name appears in the newspapers, yours is never far behind. I'm working to change that, and you'll be working against that impression for decades to no effort, I guarantee you. Caden turned and looked out the window, unwilling to look Max in his brilliantly blue eyes for any longer. He continued, and she knew he was smiling smugly even at her without looking at him. Regardless of how different methods, we always shared the same goal, to clean up this filthy world of ours. You do it by putting drugs on the street, stealing, extorting. I can't agree with that. I never did. It doesn't make any sense to improve things by making them worse. Max smiled. It's ugly on the surface, but more money, more power, and it gives me the leverage to really affect things. The only people I hurt are the same people who caused the problems in the first place. It was a refrain she had heard often below. It was a refrain she had heard often enough. She folded her... I don't know where I got below from. She folded her arms. Oh yeah, he's fucking awful. He's terrible. He changed tactics. Let me ask you. Would you rather be doing things your way, failing to change things, or would you rather work under me and make a difference? I am making a difference, Caden answered. I'm working to make this world a better place. Of course, he replied, and she didn't miss that hint of condescension in his voice. You left my team to go do good work. It's just pure coincidence that it's black, brown, or yellow criminals you target. Caden frowned. Hard to avoid when the only notable gangs of whites is yours. Some old friends and allies of mine still work for you. I can't go around attacking them, can I? I'm working to improve our city, but I'm not going to beat up people I've been out for drinks with. And in the process, you're doing it to shake that little notion that you're a part of the Empire 88. Yes, he is a Nazi. Max smiled. It's amusing to hear that you try to justify your perspective, but you're ignoring the elephant in the room. Cut the BS and tell me you don't feel something different when you look at a black face compared to when you look at a white one. God, he's the fucking worst. Holy shit. Caden didn't have an answer to that. It was his fault, really. The high school baseball player she had a crush on when he'd been in middle school had wound up being the same person that first approached her when she started going out in costume. Blinded by his good looks and his way with words, she'd been swayed, convinced of his way of thinking. She tried to change her outlook since the divorce, but she had seen a great deal in her 10 years as a member of his team. It was impossible to look at the city now and ignore the fact that too much of what made an ugly place to live and raise a child could be traced back to the same kind of people. Sure, the whites had criminals too, but they were at least fucking civilized about it. When no response was forthcoming, Max said, "That's what I thought. However, our methods differ. Regardless of whether you're willing to admit it out loud, I think we share a very similar perspective. My offer is this." Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, she was part of Empire 88, the Nazi superpowered group. Yeah. So she left when she had a kid. And that's why she feels bad, because this guy, I think his name is Kaiser when he's in costume, still has custody of her son. Oh yeah, they're both. Well, she's an ex-Nazi, but they were both. One of them is still a Nazi. Yeah. Zach, this is fucked. Yeah, I know. Somebody used to have implicit bias training with superheroes. Yeah, I know. Where was I? That's what I thought. And when no response was forthcoming, Max said,
That's what I thought. However, our methods differ regardless of whether you're willing to admit it out loud. I think we share a very similar perspective. My offer is this. Let me prove my methods work. Join my team, serve as my second in command for 1 more year. Only person you can answer is to me, and I give you a team of your own. You can handpick your own squad from our prospective members and ex-members, though I can't guarantee every person in your name will come running. Max, Caden shook her head. The final part of the deal is this. If you aren't satisfied with how things went when your year is up, Empire 88 is yours. Lock, stock, and barrel, including my business, every employee, every asset, legitimate or otherwise. I become your second in command and follow your orders. You can make Empire 88 into a humanitarian effort, sell the business, and turn us all into superheroes. I don't care. If I can't impress you, then what I'm doing is simply not worth holding on to.
Oh yeah. Worm took a fucking turn. Yeah, Worm takes a lot of fucking turns. Yeah. Yeah.
That caught her attention. Years ago, Caden probably would have snapped up at the offer like this without a second thought. Being married to Max for 11 months, waking up to who he really was, and it was given her perspective and caution. She considered for a few long moments, trying to figure out what at the angle. He was telling the truth, she knew. Whatever else Max was, he wouldn't break his word on something like this. Was the business failing? She asked. Was she getting a booby prize? Thriving. Promise. What would you have me doing? The same thing you did before. You'd be my heavy hitter, my enforcer. If I needed you to make an example of someone, you'd do it. Only difference between then and now is my empire is bigger, better. You and I can make a greater impact. More blood on my hands. As the thought crossed her mind, she looked at her gloved hands. Pristine white cloth, stark in glare of halogen lights. She knew what he was doing, had known when she decided to come. She knew what he was doing and had known when she decided to come. He found a person's weakness, attacked it, turned it to his advantage. He'd known she was frustrated with her efforts as a solo agent, and probably had this conversation planned out for days or weeks ago, playing it out in his head, having an answer ready for anything she could say. How could she compete with that when she really looked beyond the next 24 hours? It was just how she was, how she thought.
He's a Nazi shit. This season of My Hero Academia is dark as fuck. Yeah, don't you just love it when the Nazis start showing up in My Hero Academia? Bakugo, come join the Nazis. He's a Nazi, sure, but he's an honest guy. I mean, well, the thing is, she can see that, because he's the leader, so she can see that, like, she can see the fruits of his efforts in Brockton Bay. She can see whether the Empire is stagnating or waning or is actually thriving. So she can get proof anytime she wants.
Which was probably why they were so effective as a pair, she was forced to admit. So I ask you again, Caden, do you want to spend your time failing to make a name for yourself or on your own, or are you willing to join me in actually changing things? Come with me and I guarantee you win one way or another. Her eyes lit up as her hair began to turn white from the roots outward. In moments, she radiated her alter ego, purity. As if in response, he picked up a letter opener and held it in front of his chest. Blades of metal began to branch out from it, each forking out into more. Slowly at first, the network of metal swiftly encompassed his chest and the rest of his body.
He has a cool power, though. He's a total piece of shit, but he's basically like Nazi Doctor Doom.
Bars, blades, tubes, and sheets of metal found their place around him. With his power, she knew, he could bring the metal to sprout from any solid surface around him, including the metal he had already created. As readily as he could bring 30-foot spears of iron to erupt in the ground or walls, he could create a finely worked suit of armor, then embellished it with blades and curling spikes. He finished it with an uneven crown of blades. He extended a gauntlet, left it there for her to take. It was the smallest gesture. He never made a move when someone could refuse him, leave him hanging, and it meant the world to her, even as she suspected it was calculated just for that effort. Forgive me, Aster, she thought. I'm doing this for you.
I go take care of a customer when I come back. Hi, Diego. Not that.
I mean, yeah, more like Nazi Magneto. Magneto has control over magnetism, though. Dr. Doom has control over metal. I don't know. Yeah, this chapter was about Nazis. You know how it is. Those wacky Nazis.
Yeah, this is one fucked interlude.
Yeah. Back into the main story.
Yeah, we'll definitely finish this part tonight, because this is a really, really cool section that's coming up. Like, I love this a lot, way more than the bank robbery.
Doom is a super.
Oh, you're right. You're right. My bad. Yeah, okay, then I guess he is just Nazi Magneto. But didn't Doom have control of metals at one point? Or am I thinking of a different iteration of Doom? I just want to think more about Doctor Doom. That's the long and the short of it. I just fucking love Doctor Doom. Best antagonist. Oh, it is magic. You're right, it is magic. See, I guess Nazi Magneto. He does have a cool power. Even though he's a total piece of shit, that is a cool power. Alright. Shell 4.7. Yeah, Doctor Doom truly is like one of the best antagonists I've ever seen, and nobody can even dispute that. He's so fucking cool. Shell 4.7. Gru raised his hands and blanketed the entire area in darkness. It wouldn't help much. Even if he hesitated or got confused in the darkness, the crush of bodies would eventually stumble onto us, and we'd be beaten and battered under the sheer force of number. The only real advantage was that if any of them had guns, they probably wouldn't shoot for fear of hitting their own guys. I felt hands seize my wrist and lashed out at my baton. With my baton. The hands let go and the baton hit only air. After a moment, I felt the same hands grab me again, though a hold gentle, not an enemy. Gru, I realized. Sorry, I muttered. He could hear inside the darkness, couldn't he? He hoisted me up into the air, and I immediately understood his intent. I reached up and felt Brick, then found the corrugate.
Fucking hell. Because Magneto's a Jewish Nazi from Germany.
Yeah, he's a Jew from Nazi Germany. And this guy is basically Nazi Magneto. That's very... I never thought... I wonder if that was done on purpose. I truly do.
I reached up and felt Brick, then found the corrugated metal of the roof. I hauled myself up and turned around to reach for the next person, one hand gripping the edge of the roof to keep myself in place. I found Regent and Tattletale's hands in the darkness and helped them haul them up. I knew neither was Gru because they were too light. 5 or 6 seconds long, 10 seconds passed before Gru took my hand and hauled himself up. We climbed down to the far side and Gru banished the darkness around us. There were 3 ABB gang members standing up at one end of the alley we just entered and a 4th lone member on the other. Both groups were looking the wrong way and were standing still, which was a good indication as any that they hadn't noticed us. The sheer number of soldiers we'd seen didn't fit, and I'd said that much. What the fuck? How many people was that? Gru was apparently thinking along the same lines. The ABB shouldn't have that many members. They do now. Telltale glanced over her shoulder at the ABB members behind us, then back to the lone one in front who still hadn't reacted to our approach. Trap, down! She practically shoved me to the ground and took cover herself. The lone figure in front of us shimmered, then disappeared. In his place, for a fraction of a second, there was a cylindrical object in the size of a mailbox. Knowing what kind of devices Bakuda specialized in, I drew my legs close to my body, screwed my eyes shut, and covered my ears.
Knowing what kind of the force of the explosion hit me hard enough I could feel it in my bones. It lifted me clear off the ground. For a moment, it felt like I was floating, carried by a powerful hot wind. I hit the ground with my elbows and knees first, and they thrummed with agony at the impact. Chaos. The 4 or 5 storage lockers that had been closed in the canister had been reduced to chunks of flaming brick, none any bigger around than a beach ball. Other lockers near those had doors, walls, and roofs blown away. More than one locker had actually been used because the blast had emptied them out of its contents. Pieces of furniture, boxes of books, clothing, bundles of newspapers, and boxes of papers filled the alleyway. "Everyone okay?" Gru asked, as he staggered to his feet. "Ow, fuck! I'm burnt, fuck!" "She was expecting us," Telltale groaned. However bad her burns were, they weren't severe enough to be seen through the smoke and dust. "Set traps, had our people waiting. Shit! We were only half an hour later than we planned. How?" "We have to move," Gru urged us. "This gets 10 times harder if she finds us. Telltale, watch for..." "I already found you," Bakuda called out in what could have been a sing-song voice, for Mass didn't filter it out to a monotone rhythmless hiss. She emerged from the smoke that billowed from her explosion site. Her hood was pulled back and her straight black hair was blowing in the wind. The lenses of her dark red goggles were almost the same exact color as the sky above her. There were 5 or 6 thugs just a step or two behind her, a middle-aged guy that didn't look like a gang member, and a skinny boy who was probably younger than me. I was glad to see none of them had guns, but they were all armed with weapons of some sort. "Not that you were hard to find," Bakuda continued, sweeping her arms out to gesture at the devastation around her. And if you think this only gets 10 times harder," Gru blasted her, shutting her up, and his darkness billowed in a broad cloud as it struck her, enveloping her group. We took advantage of their momentary blindness to scramble for the other end of the alley. We were only halfway down the length of the alley when a sound behind us, like when there was a sound behind us, like the crack of a whip. It struck me as deeply wrong, since we shouldn't have been able to hear anything through Gru's darkness. All at once, it was like we were running against a powerful headwind, except it wasn't wind. As I looked for the sound of the noise, I saw Gru's cloud of darkness shrinking. Debris began to slide towards the epicenter of the darkness, and the wind, the pull, began to increase in intensity.
"Grab something,"
Gru bellowed. Breaking posture and lunging to one side was like forcing myself to leap over a 100-foot chasm. I don't know if I misjudged or if the effect that was pulling on me increased in strength as I leaped, but my hand fell short on the doorknob. I missed one on the neighboring locker as well. I knew in an instant that even if I managed to get my hand on something, the force of the pull would yank me before I could secure a grip. I grabbed my knife from its sheath and at the small of my back and swung it at the strength I could spare for the next door that I saw. It bit into wood, stopping me from being dragged backwards or falling sideways. The 120-pound body hanging off of it was too much, though, and almost immediately the knife began to slip from the hole. It slowed me down enough, though.
So Gru is like Blackbeard with darkest powers?
It's not really darkness, it's more sensory deprivation. But yeah, kinda sorta. As the force of the drag increased to the point my body was parallel to the ground, I waited with my heart in my throat, watching the area where the knife met the door, seeing it slide out the millimeter by millimeter. The moment I slipped free of the wood, I grabbed the doorknob that had just been a few feet beside my toes. My arm jolted painfully, but I managed to hold on and jam the knife into the gap between the door and the frame. Even with 2 things to hold on, it didn't feel like enough. All at once, the effect stopped. My body collapsed to the ground in the base of the locker, and I pried stiff fingers from the knife handle and knob. All up and down the street, massive clouds of dust rolled towards the point her device had gone off. The parts of the lockers that had been set on fire had been extinguished, but they were still smoldering enough to send columns of dark smoke into the air. Regent had found a grip on the edge of the locker's roof. It had either been bent prior to his getting a grip on it, or the force of the pull had bent the metal he had clung to it. Telltale and Gru had apparently gotten a door of a locker open because they exited as a pair, Gru limping slightly. "What the fuck was that?" I panted. "A miniature black hole?" Telltale chuckled.
Guess so. That was Brett. From the other side of the storage locker was a canister arced through the air, clinked off the metal roof of the storage locker, and landed in the middle of our group. Gru was on it in a heartbeat, using his foot to slide it across the ground and into the locker he and Tattletale had just left. Without stopping, he opened his arms wide and ushered us all away as we ran away from it. Even with brick and concrete in the way, the blast knocked us off our feet. That wasn't the scary part. As the initial blast passed, the remainder of the explosion seemed to happen in slow motion. Shattered chunks of shattered chunks of the brick shack drifted through the air slowly. You could barely tell they were moving. As I watched, I could see them actually slowing down. Then I looked forward and saw plumes of smoke in fast motion and rubble bouncing across the ground at twice the normal speed, just 10 feet ahead of us. It took me a precocious second to realize why. We were still in the blast area. "Hurry!" I shouted at the same moment that Tattletale yelled, "Go!" We lunged forward, but I could see things continue to speed up just to speed up in front of us, which meant, really, we were slowing to an absolute stop. Somehow I didn't think this effect would end in a matter of minutes like clock blockers did. We broke through the perimeter of the effect with what felt like an abrupt change in air pressure. I didn't have a chance to check to see how close we'd come to being trapped in time forever, because Bakuda was standing behind the row of the locker, launching another salvo. 3 projectiles that arced high in the air, plumes of purple smoke trailing behind them. Gru shot blasts of darkness at them, probably in hopes of muffling the effect, and gasped, "Over the lockers!" Regent and I were up the row of lockers first, much as the same way as we'd done when the mob had been after us. Once Regent had climbed down them to make room, Tattletale and I helped Gru up, and we climbed to the other side. Again, on each end of the alleyway, they were members of the ABB. They weren't moving, which meant they either hadn't noticed us or they were just holographic images hiding traps. My money was on the latter. Again, I panted. Over. We couldn't risk another trap, another bomb blast too close to us. So we crossed the alleyway again and climbed on the top row of the next row of lockers. Let me just take a sip of water real quick here. We found ourselves staring down at a half a dozen armed members of the ABB, except they weren't your typical gang members. One of them was an elderly Chinese man holding a hunting rifle. There was a girl who couldn't have been much older than 12 holding a knife who might have been his granddaughter. One of the 11 or 12 of them, only 3 of them had thuggish looks to them and really marked them as members of the group. The rest just looked terrified. The old man trained his gun on us and hesitated. A thug with a tattoo on his neck spat out something in an Eastern language I couldn't quite place, the phrase ending with a very English shoot. We were down off the other side of the lockers before he could make up his mind. Gru created a cloud of darkness over the top of the lockers to discourage them from following. "What the fuck?" Oh, that's Regent. "What the fuck?" Regent gasped. We hadn't stopped running since Bakuda oh my god, I can't read tonight. Cyst the crowd on us. Sicked the crowd on us. Oh god. Oh yeah, They're scared, not loyal, Telltale spoke, not as out of breath as Regent, but still definitely feeling the effect of the last few minutes of running and climbing. She probably forced them to serve as her soldiers, threatening them or their families, probably. Then she's been working on that for some time, Gru said. Since Lung got arrested, Telltale confirmed. Where the fuck do we go? Back over the same wall, Gru decided. I'll blind them. We cross over at a different path in case they open fire when they last saw us. Before we could put the plan into motion, there was another explosion. We staggered into the front wall of the storage locker we just climbed down from, collapsing in a heap. My entire body felt hot and my ears were ringing, and we hadn't even been that close. As I raised my head, I saw one of the storage lockers across from us had been leveled. Through the gap, I saw Bakuda standing astride the back of a jeep, one hand gripping the roll cage that arced over the top of the vehicle. She was saying something to the thugs in the front and the passenger seats, but I couldn't make it over the feedback noise in my ears. They peeled off to the right, or for just a fraction of a second, she looked at me. I reached for my bugs and directed them towards her, but she was moving too fast. That left me the option of spreading them out as they were in her way, in hopes that she could run straight into them, and maybe even would survive the bugs against a windshield impact to give me a sense of where she was. "She's going around," I said, grabbing Tattletale's wrist. "We can't go over the wall." "We gotta keep running," Regent panted. I was having trouble hearing him. "No," Gru stopped him. "That's what she wants. She's herding us into the next trap." "Where do we go then?" Regent asked, impatient. "Fight her head on? Catch her by surprise? If I can see her, I can mess up with her aim." "No. She's got enough raw firepower to kill us even if she misses." Gru shook his head. "We don't have many options. We go over this wall again, and we just have to deal with thugs and the old man. We go down there. We go down either end of the alley, and we're walking face first into a bomb. So we have to backtrack. No choice." I wish there was another option. Backtracking meant moving back towards the center of the facility. It meant prolonging our escape and possibly running headlong into AVB troops. We headed for a gap that Bakuda's latest explosion had created in the lockers, and Gru filled the alley we were leading with darkness to help cover our escape. The little road was empty except for the still figure at either end. As we started to climb over the next row of lockers, we felt rather than heard a large series of explosions rip through the area behind us. Bakuda was bombing the cloud of darkness with a series of explosions. I guess you didn't need to see it if you couldn't hit too hard. I just realized Bakuda is bomb in Japanese. I didn't even realize that. I read this after I watched JoJo Part 4. I didn't even know Daisan no Bakuran bites the dusto. That should have made me figure it out, but I didn't. I just realized that now. I guess you didn't need to see it if you could hit that hard. We climbed down from the lockers and found ourselves in the same place we'd been where we escaped the mob. There were still figures out at the end of the alley, doubtlessly a concealed bomb, and the destruction caused by explosions in the miniature black hole in a can on the other. If we climbed over the locker, we faced the risk of throwing ourselves straight into the mob we'd fled. We'd have the element of surprise, but we'd be outnumbered, and our firepower was virtually nil. There's a hair on my phone. By unspoken agreement, we headed towards the end of the alley where the hologram bomb had gone off, where plumes of dust were still settling. We were greeted by the sound of guns being cocked. My heart sank. 20 or so members of the AVB had guns of various sorts trained on us, kneeling, sitting, and crouching in front of the two groups, so they were out of the way of the guns and out of sight. Were 30 or so people Bakuda had recruited. There was a businessman and a woman that could have been his wife, a girl wearing the Immaculata school uniform from the Christian private school in the south end of the city, around my age. There were 2 older men, 3 older women with graying hair, and a group of guys and girls that might have been university students were standing together, everyday people. These weren't gang members, but I couldn't think of them as soldiers. Every one of them had a weapon of some sort. There were kitchen knives, baseball bats, pipes, shovels, 2x4s, chains, and crowbars, and one guy even had a sword that was oddly enough not Japanese. There was a look of grim resignation on their faces, circles under their eyes that spoke of exhaustion as they watched us. Behind their assembled group, standing astride the Jeep, one foot resting on her modified Jeep-mounted mortar launcher, an altered grenade launcher dangling from one strap around her shoulder, was Bakuda. All around her were boxes of her specialized grenades and mortar rounds bolted onto the back of her Jeep, blinking with various colored LEDs. She put her hands on her grenade launcher as she tilted her head to one side. Her robotic voice crackled through the air. Checkmate. Taylor's a weeb confirmed. Taylor's a weeb. Taylor's a fucking closet weeb. We know it. Taylor is definitely a closet weeb.
Yeah, it's actually a katana. I'll have you know, because I have a katana collection. I have 9 katanas in my room, waiting for the day where I get to use one against an intruder and we can have our legendary anime duel.
me take another sippy of water.
All right. While you were studying writing, I was studying the art of the blade.
Yeah. While you were writing superhero novels, I was studying the art of the blade. That's Norman. Norman doesn't watch anime. We all know that here. Norman doesn't even know what an anime is. If anime shows up in Empress Teresa, I'm gonna laugh like no tomorrow. All right.
He was straight up playing with swords.
Teresa mastered the sword at age 2. She was a katana master by the time she was 8. Shell 4.8. I discovered facing down more than a dozen gunmen, 30 or so people with improvised weapons, and a mad scientist with a fetish for bombs that really made me appreciate what bitch had brought to the team. All of this, Telltale spoke very carefully. You were toying with us. That's why you didn't have your people shoot at us from the start. You're very right, Bakuda. Bakuda's mask may have altered her voice to something approximating Robbie the Robot with a sore throat. I'm not going to try to do that. But I got the impression she tried to make up for it with body language. She shook a finger at Telltale like she was scolding a dog. But I think you, specifically, should shut up. Boys? She rested her hand on the head of an ABB member standing in front of her Jeep with a pistol in his hands. He flinched at the touch. If the blonde one opens her mouth again, open fire on the entire group. I don't care what the others have to say, but she stays quiet.
No wonder Empress Teresa's awful.
What are you talking about? It's like the best piece of literature ever. Also, I don't know about you guys, but I imagine Bakuda as like Lucy Liu from Kill Bill. Like, she very much reminds me of Lucy Liu in Kill. I don't remember what her name was in Kill Bill, but she reminds me of Lucy Liu in Kill Bill. I love those movies. If anyone in the chat has not seen Kill Bill, you should watch Kill Bill. It's great. Her soldiers adjusted their grips on their guns, and more than one turned the barrel of the weapon's point towards Tattletale specifically. Glancing at Tattletale, I saw her eyes narrow, her lips pressed together in a hard line. Yeah, Bakuda straightened up and put a foot on the top of the Jeep's door, rested her arms on her knee, leaning towards us. You're the only one I don't get. Don't know your powers, but seeing how you and the skinny boy baited my ineffectual mercenaries, I think I'm gonna have to play it safe and have you keep quiet. Maybe it's a subsonic thing, altering moods as you talk. Maybe it's something else. I don't know, but you shut up, okay? Out of the corner of my eye, I could see Tattletale giving the slightest nod. Now, I'm in a bit of a pickle, Bakuda hissed, examining the back of her hand. It seems she just wasn't compensating for the mechanical voice with her body language. She liked to talk, not that I was complaining. See, Lung taught me a lot. But the lesson I really took to heart was that being an effective leader is all about fear. Career like ours, people are the only truly loyal to someone if they are terrified of them. Enough fear, and they stop worrying about their own interests, stop wondering if they can usurp you, they dedicate themselves entirely to making you happy, or at least to keeping you from being unhappy. She hopped down from the Jeep and grabbed the hair of a taller, longer-haired Japanese guy from the group of 20-somethings. Winding his hair in her hands, she made him bend over until his ear was right in front of her. Isn't that right? He mumbled a reply and she released him. But it goes further, doesn't it? See, I may have inherited the ABB. It was almost imperceptible. But I saw a flicker of movement around Tattletale's face. Change of expression or movement of her head.
When I glanced her way, though, I couldn't guess what it had been. Bakuto continued without a pause. But I also inherited Lung's enemies, so I have a dilemma, you see. What I can do is that what I can do to you what can I do to you that's going to convince them I'm worth steering clear of? What gesture would be effective enough that it would have their people running for the hills when they saw me coming? She wheeled around and grabbed the pistol from her hand of one of her thugs. Give. She then strode forward in the midst of the crowd. There's not enough bugs here. I took advantage of the pause in her to whisper under my breath, hoping others would catch it, praying I wasn't being too loud. At least my mask was covering my face, hid the fact that my lips weren't moving. Regent? Can't disarm this many guns, he replied. He whispered his reply. You! Bakuto called out, startling us. She wasn't paying attention to us, though. A Korean-American guy in a private school uniform from Immaculata High in the nicest part of the city was cringing in front of her. The crowd slowly backed away, clearing a few feet of space around the two of them. Yes, Boy replied. Park Ji-hoo, correct? Yeah, Park Ji-hoo, yes? Ever hold a gun before? No. Ever beat someone up? Please, no. Ever get in a fight? I mean a real fight. Biting, scratching, reaching for the nearest thing you could use as a weapon? No, Bakuda. Then you're perfect for my little demonstration. Bakuda pressed the pistol in his hands. Shoot one of them. The guy held the gun like it was a live scorpion with 2 fingers at the arm's length. Please, I can't. I'll make it easy for you. Bakuda might have been trying to coo or sound reassuring, but the mask didn't allow for that kind of inflection. You don't even have to kill them. You can aim for a kneecap, an elbow, a shoulder, okay? Wait a second. She left the gun in the guy's hands and stepped away, pointing to one of her thugs. Get the camera out and start rolling. As ordered, he reached for the side of the Jeep and retrieved a small handheld camcorder. He fumbled with it for a few seconds before holding it over his head to see past the crowd, looking through the flip-out panel on the side to make sure the camera was on target. Thank you for waiting, Park Ji-hoo. Bakuda turned her attention to the guy with the gun. You can shoot someone now. The guy's something in Korean. It might have been a prayer. Please, no. Really? They're bad people. If you're concerned about morals. Bakuda tilted her head to one side. He blinked back tears, staring up at the sky. The gun fell from his hands to the clatter on the pavement. That's a no. Shame. No use to me as a soldier. Bakuda kicked him in the stomach, hard enough to send him sprawling out onto his back. No, the guy looked up at her. Please! Bakuda half-skipped back a few feet. People around them took that as their cue to get away from him as well. She didn't do anything, didn't say anything, didn't offer any tell or signal. There was a sound, like a vibrating cell on a phone on a table, and Park Ji-hoo liquefied into a soupy mess in the span of a second. Dead. He died. Just like that. So hard to hear over the screaming, the wailing, the outraged shouts. As the crowd scrambled to back away from the scene, all trying to hide behind one another, one of the thugs fired a gun straight up in the air. Everyone stopped. After the shrieks of surprise, there was a briefest of pause, long enough for one sound to bring everyone into stunned silence. It sounded like a noise you would make when you rake up dry leaves, but louder, artificial in a way it sounded like it was played over an archaic answering machine. All eyes turned to Bakuda. She was doubled over, her hands around her middle, laughing. The sound was her laughing. She slapped her leg as she stood, made a noise that might have been an intake of breath or a chuckle, but her mask didn't translate it to anything recognizable. Only a hiss with barely any variation to it. She spun in a half circle as she crowed. The 616! I forgot I made that one! Perfect! Better than I thought. If her job was to terrify, she'd succeeded. With me, at least, I wanted to throw up, but I'd have to take my mask off to do it, and I was afraid that if I'd moved, I'd get shot. The fear of guns was enough to override my wailing nausea, But the end result was that I was shaking, not just trembling, but full body shakes that had me struggling to keep upright. That was pretty cool. With those words, Regent managed to get as many wide-eyed looks than Bakuda had gotten with her laugh. He got one from me, and it wasn't just what he said, it was how calm he sounded. I know, right? Bakuda turned around to face him, cocked her head to one side. I modeled it off of Tesla's work in vibrations. He theorized that if you could get the right frequency, you could shatter the Earth if... No offense, Regent said. Well, I'll rephrase. I don't really care about offending you. Don't shoot me, though. I just want you to stop there, and I don't care about the science stuff and all the technobabble and about how you did it. It's boring. I'm just saying it's kind of neat to see what a person looks like when they dissolve down to that. Gross, creepy, fucked up, but it's neat. Yes, Bakuda exulted in the attention. Like the answer to a question you didn't know you were asking. How'd you do it? You stuck bombs in these civilians to get them to work for you? Everyone, Bakuda answered, almost delirious on the high of her successful experiment and Regent's attention. She half skipped, half spun through the crowd and leaned against one of her thugs, patting his cheek. Even my most loyal. Bitch of a thing to do. Not an actual procedure of sticking the things inside their heads. After the first 20, I could do the surgeries with my eyes closed. Literally, I actually did a few that way. She pouted, but having to tranquilize the first dozen or so and to do the surgeries on them before they woke up, so I'd have the manpower to round up anyone else, one after the other, really tedious once the novelty wears off. I'd be too lazy to do that, even if I had your powers, Regent said. Can I approach the body, get a better look? Her mood changed in a flash, and she angrily jabbed a finger in his direction. No! Don't think I don't know you're trying something. I'm a fucking genius, get it? I can think 12 moves ahead of you before you've ever decided on your first. It's why you're standing here and I... She holstered herself up as he was sitting, holstered herself as she was sitting on the side of the Jeep. I'm sitting here. Chill the fuck out, Regent replied. I was just asking. I could see from Telltale's expression that she was having the same thought that I was. Give the lunatic bomber some respect. I quietly voiced what Telltale couldn't. Tone it down a notch, Regent, I whispered. Whatever, Bakuda drew out the word. Skinny boy just lost the goodwill he'd earned for appreciating my art. Or at least being able to fake it convincingly. She tapped the guy with the camera on the shoulder. You still filming? She gave the man a short nod. As I looked at him, I saw beads of sweat running down his face, even though it was a cool evening. Senior thugs were pretty spooked, too. Good. Bakuda rubbed her pink gloves hands together. We'll edit out the talky parts later, then we put it on the web and send copies to local news stations. What do you think? The camera guy answered in an accented voice. Good plan, Bakuda. She clapped her hands together. Then she pointed to the crowd. All right. So you, the girl in the yellow shirt and jeans. If I told you to, would you pick up the gun and shoot someone? It took me a second to spot the girl at the far end of the crowd. She looked at Bakuda with a stricken expression and managed to answer. The gun melted too, ma'am. You can call me Bakuda. You know that. Nothing fancy. If the gun was still there, would you shoot? Or if I told someone to give you a gun? I think maybe I would. I could? Her eyes flickered to the puddle that had been Park Ji-hoo. Which concludes my demonstration. Bakuda addressed our group. Fear! It's why Lung went out of his way to recruit me. I always understood deep down inside that fear was a powerful tool. He just phrased it so well. True fear is a blend of certainty and the unpredictable. My people know that if they cross me, I only have to think about it to make bombs in their heads go kablooey. Boom. They'd know that if I die, every single bomb I've made goes off. Not just the ones I jammed in their heads, every single fucking one. And I've made a lot. Certainties. I can't believe I stumbled on the last word. Lisa reached out and grabbed my hand, clenched it tight. As for unpredictability, Bakuda kicked her legs against the side of the Jeep like a grade schooler sitting in a chair. I like to mix it up with my arsenal, so you never know what you're gonna get. But you're also got to keep people wondering, right? Keep them on their toes. Case in point, Shazam! The word coincided with the very start of a very real explosion. The word coincided
with the start of a very real explosion that was closely followed by something like thunder, but at least it was already pulling on my arm, pulling me away. I saw a glimpse of chaos, of screaming people running from place the explosions had happened in the midst of Bakuda's own group. The fleeing people were obstructing the vision of the people with guns. Regin stuck his arm out, swept it outward, sending 10 or so people stumbling into one another, turning the crowd into a disordered mob. I heard the too loud roar of guns being fired and saw Regin grab the shoulder of a limp left arm, couldn't be too sure where the two were connected. Finally, there was Bakuda, still sitting on the side of the jeep. She was either shouting something or laughing. She was letting us slip up from her grasp. Her power was on the verge of killing one another in mindless... Her people on the verge of killing one another in mindless panic, and she just killed at least one of her own people on a whim. From what we'd seen of her, I was willing to bet she was laughing as it happened. Almost without noticing, night had fallen, as if to invite us deeper into the maze. The light poles flickered and turned above us, with Gru covering our retreat in a curtain of darkness. We ran. I like that chapter. I think Bakuda is really cool, even if she is just like a minor antagonist. I really like her. I like charismatic villains like that, even if she is totally fucked in the head. Alright. I'll be right back. I have to go to the bathroom and go get some more water, so I'll be right back. 1 minute. Hey everyone. Your favorite guy is back. You know, if I didn't have this stream title structured, I just call it like that feel when no sadistic bomb GF. But I don't know if that would attract more viewership or just completely have it wane. I don't know if you guys would fucking just leave. Guy Fieri is here? Yes.
Right here. We're gonna fire town. Diners driving the dives.
Yeah, there it is.
We're gonna dive and drive the dives. Right here.
Yeah, I changed it to that feel when no sadistic bomb GF, but I want people to see on Twitch, like, you know, what they're getting when they're doing this stream. If they think they're getting a sadistic bomb GF, hey, cool. Good for them. But I can't promise them that. I can only promise them voice acting and reading. And the occasional meme. Which just happened just now. Let's get back into it. And this fight's really cool. I like this fight a lot.
Where's my sadistic bomb GF?
I don't have one. I know. I can't promise you that. If I tell the stream that, I'm gonna be false advertising.
Actually, where's my sadistic butcher dog control GF?
I don't know where she is right now. I'm sorry. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you. See, now I'm accused of false advertising. I don't know what else to tell you. Listen, Best Girl hasn't even shown up in this yet. I know Patrick's gonna lose his fucking mind. Oh, shit, I just fucking doxed him again. Mahatma is gonna lose his fucking mind when she shows up. Just fucking dox my boy again. Sorry, Patrick.
My lore will be contacting you. Okay.
Let them have fun with that. I don't remember when exactly. You know what? Here. When exactly does does true Best Girl show up? Because, you know, Bakuda's pretty high on the waifu list. But Best Girl has yet to show up. What chapter does she show up in? Oh god. Hold on. Before we get back into this, hold on. Interlude 6. I can survive a dox. Of course you can survive a dox. Yeah, I can't wait for her to show up so Patrick can lose his fucking mind. Shell 4.9. Did you get hurt? I asked Regent as the four of us dashed down the alleyway. No answer, so I tried to be more specific. Regent, listen to me. Did you get shot? He shook his head, in a light motion as he clutched his hands against his shoulder. Not shot. Used my powers too much, too fast, and it backfired. Left arm's cramping up. Spasms. I can't move it. Don't worry about it. Backfired? I asked. Don't worry about it. His snarled response was all the more startling because it came from our normally placid and too laid-back Alec. As if to compensate for lashing out, he muttered an apology. Fuck, sorry. This hurts, but I'll deal. You guys focus on getting us out of this mess. Tattletale. I was still holding her hand, so I squeezed to ensure she had my attention. This would be a fantastic time for you to do your thing. Especially since you dropped the ball as far as letting us walk into that fucked up situation, Gru growled. Okay, Tattletale huffed, with both the exertion of our run and her irritation, letting go of my hand to push her hair back from her face and pull it behind her ears. The big one. She's lying. About? I asked. She's not the new leader of the ABB. What? What? Who is? Gru asked. Your guess is as good as mine. She doesn't see herself as the one in charge as much as she enjoys the role. She's pretending. The ground rumbled, and we looked behind us to see debris spraying out of the darkness Gru had used to cover our retreat. Hold on. Put my brightness down on my phone because it's like glaring in my fucking eyes. There we go. It was only because we were watching the debris fall that we saw the rocket blast. We saw the rocket blast out of the darkness. We ducked needlessly as the missile arced 3 feet over our heads and continued down the alley, directly to the spot where a hologram bomb sat. We covered our heads as the rockets and bombs exploded, one just a second after the other. The first explosion didn't even ruffle our hair, though we were less than 100 feet away. The second explosion, though, ripped past us with the most intense cold I ever felt. Even through my costume I could feel it. When we opened our eyes, there was a spectacle in front of us. The second explosion had flash frozen the first bomb mid-explosion. Had probably been what absorbed the force of the blast. Smoke, debris, and dust had been frozen in a tower of ice, easily as tall as a 2-story building, composed of spikes of ice and frost that radiated up away from us. Most of it was lit by the light posts that were spaced unevenly across the storage facility. It was already slowly falling apart. Heavier pieces of debris were breaking through the ice that held them up, falling free and even crashing through paper-thin lattice works of frost. The same frost covered the ground and every wall but was facing the explosion site as far as the eye could see. It covered us, icicles so tiny and fine they were like eyelashes and radiated from parts of my costume that had been exposed. There were even twists and curls of ice where Gru's smoke had been frozen. Everyone okay? Gru asked.
He was shielding Tattletale with his body, the ice sloughing off of them in sheets as they stood. When he saw me looking, he explained, Tattletale's costume exposes her skin more than any of us. If she was been totally exposed. No, I answered. No worries. Smart. But we should move. We ran. As all around us tiny crystals of ice were drifting down, sparkling in the light. Tattletale continued dishing info on Bakuda. Line number 2, she's fibbing around how she's detonating those bombs as she has in her people's heads. She said she blows things up with a thought, but she's not wearing any external hardware on her head, so she wouldn't have someone else to do surgery on her. Too much of a control freak, too proud of her own brain. But you don't know how she's blowing things up? Tattletale, I guessed. I know exactly how she's setting them off. Toe rings. Toe rings, Gru said, clearly disbelief in her tone, even with his warped voice. She's got a ring around her big toe and the toe next to it. When she crosses one toe over the other, contacts on the outside of the rings meet and it sends a signal. She chooses the target with a system built into her goggles. It doesn't look like she's doing anything, which is probably the effect she's looking for. Appearances. Good to know, Gru said. But it doesn't help. But that doesn't help us right now. What are her weaknesses? There was the crash and explosion behind us. The area briefly lit up, but it hadn't hit close enough to be worrying about. Narcissistic personality disorder, megalomania. She spent her whole life being smarter than everyone around her, even before she had powers. Constantly praised, coddled, but she really, if ever, heard a criticism. Probably wasn't ever knocked down a peg, and that was a big factor in her ego swelling up into neurotic levels. Probably graduated at high school years early. My bet is her trigger event was related to this. Passed over for a job or someone really bitched her out, and she didn't know how to deal. Alright, something to add. The first thing she did with her powers, only thing, before she came to Brockton Bay, was held the university hostage. Maybe she got bad marks, failed a class, or was passed over for a teacher's assistant position. Jarred her own self-image even enough she snapped. Something we can use, people, Gru growled. The personality disorder, Tattletale said. Even a small victory on our end is going to get a big reaction from her. Ego-wise, she's got a glass jaw. Hard to say if a win for us would mean she goes manic and blows everything else up, or she'd just crumple up. But I guarantee she wouldn't handle it well. Gru nodded, starting to speak but stumbled. I did my best to stop him from falling over, but he probably weighed half as much as I did. He got his balance, growled, then spoke. How do we win? How do we avoid losing? What's she got going on that we don't know about? The goggles. She's seeing heat signatures. It's how she's finding us. The ice is a blessing in disguise, since it's probably hiding us some. She must have a reason for using it. Her guns are keyed to her fingerprints, so she couldn't pick up her grenade launcher and use. So we couldn't pick up her grenade launcher and use it against her. What else? That's all that's coming to my mind right now. If you going to come up with the plan, best do it fast. I think she's after us on the Jeep. Then we're splitting up, Gru grunted. I fucked up my ankle by kicking the door when the black hole hit. I fucked it up worse by running so much afterwards. I'm gonna see what I can do. Staying here. The fuck? I breathed. No! I'll buy you guys time. You guys go, now. No way, I said, but he was stopping, turning around. I tried to stop too, but Tattletale took a hold of my hands and dragged me after her. I shouted, Gru, don't be stupid! He didn't respond, turning to fire the blast of darkness that lights nearest to him, darkening in the entire alley. Slowly, he walked in the opposite direction of the rest were going, favoring one leg. With a whistle and a resounding crack, another rock slammed into the tower of ice. The entire thing toppled like a massive house of cards, with the sound of hundreds of thousands of windows breaking. Even with that cacophony, I heard the sound of the squeal of tires. I saw the blurred form of the Jeep approaching from the cloud of snow and frost that was rolling away from the collapsed tower. Gru didn't retreat as the Jeep barreled forward, didn't turn away. He bellowed at the top of his lungs in an altered voice. Come on! Gru, I shouted, but he didn't react. Fuck! No bugs. Still too few. We'd been constantly moving, so my bugs hadn't had a place they could congregate, and this place was lousy for them anyway in quantity and quality. How could I have been so goddamn stupid?
I should always be prepared. Now I wasn't in a state to help a friend and teammate when he needed it most because I'd assured my bugs would be on hand. There were only 3 people in that Jeep, with one person standing at the back being the very recognizable Bakuda, grenade launcher in hand. The thug in the passenger seat had a pistol in each hand, and the driver was steering with one hand, a gun in the other. Gru didn't budge as the driver stepped on the gas. Was he playing chicken against a speeding car? Come on, Gru shouted again. Don't just watch, Telltale tugged at my arm, pulling me towards the corner. We gotta do something now, or there's no point. It was stupid, but I resisted, grabbing at the edge of the locker to ensure I could stay long enough to see what had happened to Gru, see if maybe he would be okay. Those hopes were swiftly dashed. The car slammed into the darkness-wreathed figure with enough speed to assure me that he wouldn't be walking away from an impact. The tires squealed and the Jeep skidded in a half-turn as it veered to a halt. Bakuda pulled herself to a standing position, holding on the roll bar as she looked around, presumably for us. Come on, Telltale urged me in a strained whisper. Let's go! I realized it before she did. There's no damage to the car. Telltale repeated yanking on my arm Telltale's repeated yanking on my arm stopped as she paused to verify what I'd said. No broken windows, no dents on the hood, no dents on the bumper. A cloud of darkness bloomed from the shadows at the side of the alley and swallowed the Jeep and its 3 occupants. 2 seconds later, the Jeep came roaring out of the darkness, fishtailing as the wheels struggled to get a grip on the frost-slick pavement. The driver steered it towards us while Bakuda loaded her grenade launcher, her focus on the cloud of darkness that she just exited. The guy in the passenger seat was gone. Bakuda aimed the grenade launcher at the darkness. Fuck, Gru owes me one for this, Regent muttered. He let go of his shoulder, raised his hands towards the Jeep, and then flung it out to one side. As he did, he screamed, his voice primal, raw. The hand the driver had on the wheel moved as much as Regent's did, swinging wildly to one side. The Jeep turned, skidded, and spun out, flinging Bakuda and the contents of half a dozen boxes of explosives onto one side of the alley. It collided with a locker, halfway smashing through the door in the process, and spiraled to a halt with a single airbag deployed, the driver limping behind it. Almost as the same moment as the Jeep stopped, Regent started to collapse onto the ground unconscious. I grabbed to stop him and eased him down so he didn't hit his head. I looked at Tattletale. Backfire? No, but close, Telltale said. After a backfire, he's got to rest his powers. It's like throwing a punch with a broken hand. He'll be sore and probably powerless for a little while, but he'll recover. Good, I said, staring out at the scene. The crashed car, the frost-covered street, covered with grenades and canisters. Bakuda was still lying in the midst of it all. Gru limped out of the cloud of darkness, the passenger's gun in his hand. Gru, I called out. I ran to him and hugged him. My relief was so intense I wasn't even embarrassed about it.
Hey, yeah, his voice echoed. I'm all right. Only a faint. Hard to tell whether it's me or a blob of shadow shaped roughly like a person when the lights are out, yeah? Fooled her.
Fooled me? Scared the fucking crap out of me, I answered. You fucker.
Nice to know you care.
He laughed a little, patted me on the head like someone would a dog.
Come on. We should restrain the lunatic, get her out of here, so we can drill on her what happened to Bitch and their money. Maybe get an idea of what's going on with the ABB.
I smiled behind my mask. Sounds like I didn't get to finish. Everything went white. Then every inch of me bloomed in searing agony that dwarfed the worst pain I had ever felt. Since we had trounced Uber and Lead, it had become one close call after another. Being surrounded and charged by a mob, being held at gunpoint, escaping a miniature black hole, nearly being frozen in time like bugs in amber, innumerable explosions. We escaped each of the threats by the skin of our teeth, knowing all the while that it would ever take was one well-placed shot, and we were all down, gone and out of commission. All it had taken was one good shot. Shell 4.10. I came to the gradual realization I could open my eyes, as though it was something I had forgotten how to do. I tried it and regretted my decision instantly. One of my eyes wasn't seeing anything, even when it was open, and the other was out of focus, with images failing to make sense even when I could make something out. As I screwed my eyes shut, even with the pink glow of light passing through my eyelids was like a firework exploding in my retinas.
When I was tried to piece together what had just happened, my thoughts moved like molasses. If you fucks had any sense, you just know that getting the upper hand on me, you'd know that getting the hand on me, just upper hand on me, just for a moment, it's something you should fucking be terrified of. A voice hissed. It took me a few seconds to place the voice, way longer than it should have. Bakuda. I was beginning to hurt, like paper cuts, but blown out up to the 200 times their size. And each of the paper cuts was one of my muscles. My skin was prickling with stings that were gradually feeling more and more like a burn. My joints throbbed as though every single joint had been torn out of its individual socket, and people were banging the still alive ends of them against the pavement like in a grim rhythm. I opened my good eye and tried to unsuccessfully to focus. 3 crimson ribbons. No, I was seeing triple. 1 crimson ribbon was extending along the side of my mask, dripping from the edge where the mask covered my nose, dropping in a straight line to touch the ground. When it had made contact with the pavement, there was a steadily growing puddle. I realized I was bleeding. A lot. Leaving me lying with a grenade launcher in my hand and ammunition all over the fucking street was just asking for it. Fuck, just the hugging and the being relieved as if all of you had actually beaten me. You were begging to be shot. I wasn't going out like this, not without a fight. I could barely move, though, let alone take action. My desire to do something was almost more excruciating than the pain that throbbed and thrummed through my entire body. What could I do? My mind wasn't working as agonizingly slowly as it had been moments before, but my thoughts were still bogged down and broken up. Stuff I should have known without thinking about it was vague, uncertain, disjointed. Too many thoughts were orphaned, disconnected from everything else. I should have hit something in my frustration if I'd been able to move without everything hurting. I settled for clenching my fists. School. Trouble at school? Me? The trio? No. What was I thinking about school? What had I been thinking about before I got frustrated? Wanting to fight back somehow? Bakuda. School. Fighting back. I almost groaned in frustration as I tried to connect the individual ideas and simply couldn't complete the thought. Only wound up huffing out a breath, wincing at the pain it caused. Oh, the ineffectual little girl with the bug costume is awake, Bakuda's whirring voice announced to the night air. Gru said something in a short distance away. I couldn't make it out. Bakuda replied with an absent, "Shush, don't worry, I'll get you in a moment." I heard something and saw a pair of pink boots appear on top of my face, the image swimming and drifting lazily. Bad day? She bent over me. Good. See, one of my new minions is on the staff at the Protectorate headquarters. A guard where Lung is being imprisoned, understand? Wasn't in a position to free him, but she got the full story from him. I know you were a little freak that led him to. I know you were the little freak that led him to getting sent there. So you get special treatment tonight. You get to watch what I do to your friends. I'll start with the boy in black, then move to your unconscious buddies over there. Glue them down just to be safe. Once your friends are as good as dead, I give you to Oni Lee. He was a very good boy when it came to the change of regime, and he's been bugging me to give him something to play with. What do you say to that? I was only half listening. Like a mantra, I was mentally reciting the same thing over and over. Bakuda, school, fight back. Bakuda, school, I muttered. Hearing how reedy and thin my own voice sounded was more terrifying than anything else that had come to my attention within the past few minutes. What? Does the bug girl want to say something? She bent down and grabbed the armor that hung over my chest. With a jerk, she hauled me into a half-sitting position. Being tugged around like that was torture, but the pain helped me sharpen my thoughts into a semblance of clarity. School. Bakuda failed. I answered her, my voice only marginally stronger than it had been on my last attempt. The black-red lenses of her goggles bored into me as I composed my thoughts to speak again, trying to sound more coherent. Smart as you think you are. Failing like that, what was it? Second place? Not even second? I made her something of a approximating a chuckle. She let go of me and stepped away as if I was on fire. As my head hit the pavement, I was nearly blacked out. Had to fight not to. Embrace the pain. Keeps you awake. A short distance away from me, Gru's voice echoed. I couldn't make out the first word. She's or cheese. He laughed. It spooked me that I couldn't understand him, that I couldn't figure out why I couldn't understand him. I wasn't hearing as well as I should, I knew that, but that wasn't all. That wasn't all of it. What else? The distortion. The explosion or explosions had damaged my hearing, maybe. And I couldn't make out his words with the effect his power had on his voice. Just figuring out, knowing I could figure it out, made me feel 100 times better. You think so? Bakuda hissed at Gru. Her words were easier to make out since her mask was reconstructing them so they were permanently enunciated in monotone, even if it was obscured behind whirs and hisses. She kicked me in the face with one of those pink boots. Having to move my head hurt more than anyone almost having my teeth kicked in. She grabbed at my costume and dragged me several feet. Being moved cranked all the other hurt to up a notch. Oh my god. On a scale of 1 to 10, it was a good solid 9.5. Nothing I could do could make it hurt more, so I found the strength and willpower to reach up and grab her wrists for all the good it did. She let me go and then shoved me to turn me on my side. The movement made me want to throw up. Seeing Gru helped ground me, and as I fought the nausea and panted tiny breaths at the pain, he was bound in a half-sitting position against a locker with what looked like a length of sticky gold ribbon. Where was Tattletale? Let's see how smart you two are after I give Tall, Dark, and Mysterious his treat, Bakuda threatened. Let's see here. Here's a real gem. 227. Now sit still. If you even think about using your powers, I'll shove it down the bug brat's throat instead and set it off. Not like you're in a position to stop me from getting the job done, even if I'm deaf and blind. She removed her pink gloves and then threw them aside. Then she withdrew a set of what looked like long, narrow scissors from her sleeve, except they were blunt, not sharp, like pliers almost. They clicked as she closed them on the tip of what looked like an inch-long metal pill. No need for surgery since this isn't going to be long-term. What I'm going to do is to slide it up your nostril and into your nasal cavity. Ugh. She reached into the darkness that was leaking from all around him and fumbled around with his face. Just need you to get your helmet off. There. If Gru's mask was off, it was hard to tell. His head was a roughly human-shaped blur of shadows. She reached into the layer of darkness with one hand and pushed the capsule into the center of it all with the other. And in it goes, slowly. Don't want to activate it prematurely, and the effects will only be really cool if it's deep. See, my 227s are something of a happy accident. I've taken readings of Little Vista's powers, though maybe I could make a space-time distortion grenade. Purely by accident, I cracked the Manton effect, or at least whatever I'd done when I'd put the grenade together. It bypassed the Manton effect. You idiots know what that is? She stopped and cracked her knuckles, leaving the scissor-like tool sticking straight out of Gru's face. It's that little rule that keeps pyrotechnics from boiling your blood, that limits most powers from affecting people's bodies. Or depending on what theory you're going by, it's the rule that says your power either works on only organic living things or it works on anything else. So think about it. A spatial distortion effect that only works on living material. I set this thing off, and all living matter within 3 feet of the capsule is reshaped, warped, shrunk, blown up, stretched, bent. Doesn't actually kill you. That's the second most amazing part about it, besides the Manton bypass. Everything still connects to everything else. Totally non-lethal, but I'll make you wish you were dead every second of the rest of your miserable fucking existence. Don't just lie there and watch, I thought. Do something. Take a sip of water. Just click, whoosh. You're ugly enough to put the Elephant Man to shame. Wind up with a head 4 times normal size, bumps like tumors all over. Every feature and part of the wrong shape, wrong size, reshapes the brain too. But that's just usually some mild to moderate brain damage, since I've got it calibrated to focus the external features. She laughed. It was a dry, repetitive, inhuman sound. When she spoke again, she enunciated every word separately. Irreversible and fucking hilarious.
I reached for my bugs, but I couldn't draw my thoughts together enough to give them any complex commands. I just called them to me. That still left me to help Gru. My utility sheath. Slowly, as much due to my need to be discreet as my inability to move very quickly without incredible pain, I moved my hand behind my back, reminded myself of what was there. Pepper spray, no go. It wouldn't burn her skin, but the goggles and mask would keep most of her face safe. She was scraped and bloody, so maybe I could spray her body. It wouldn't be fun on her wounds, but would it save us? Pen and paper, cell phone, change, no, no, and no. Baton. I didn't need the strength to swing it or the leverage or room I needed to extend it. EpiPens. Not as much use, and I didn't trust my strength or coordination as far as being able to both inject her and depress the syringe.
What? So blow up. Do want kill you?
Diego, you're speaking caveman right now. I'm not quite sure what you just said. Well, she makes bombs. And that bomb could be like anything. So what she's saying is she created a reality distortion bomb that would not kill you, but it would reshape your like entire space. It would spatially warp the world around you. She can make it like just straight up bombs that can kill you. But that's not one of them. That's more like a torture device for her. That was it for the contents of my utility compartment. I let my hand go limp and dangle behind my back as I braced myself to move it, and my fingers brushed against something. The knife sheath at the small of my back. I'd strapped it at the lowest point it could be on my back while being covered by my armor and easy to reach. Knife worked. There was a faint click as Bakuda adjusted the scissor plier things and removed them from Gru's nose. They weren't gripping the capsule anymore. This should be a show, she gloated, standing up straight before I could figure out where to stab or cut. Didn't want to kill, but had to stop her. For Gru. My hand was behind my back, gripping the knife handle with blade pointing out of the bottom of my hand. I shifted my position a fraction so my angle was better. Hey, bug girl. What are you up to there? Flopping around like a fish out on dry land? Pay attention. It's going to look really cool when parts of his face start bulging out of that little blotch of shadow. I tried to formulate a response, some reply that would add sting to what I was about to do, but a wave of weakness swept over me. Darkness began to creep in and around me, edges of my vision again. I straightened my legs in an attempt to cause myself to go for I straightened my legs in an attempt to cause myself more pain, forced myself to alertness again, and it failed to push the darkness back. Was Gru using his power? I looked at him. Nothing. I was just blacking out. I couldn't pass out now. Toe rings. With no witty reply, no quip, or even an angry yell, I brought the knife down on the end of her foot. Two thoughts struck me simultaneously. I'd hit something hard. Was her foot or boot armored? Had I even gotten the right foot? Telltale had never said which one had toe rings, or if both did. As a wave of blackness swept in from my vision and faded just as quickly, leaving me only dimly aware of her screams, the nausea was welling up again. And it was just like it was with my consciousness slipping away, the need to puke building. I was going to throw up, but I couldn't choke if I did have my mask on. If I wound up on my back, I couldn't even suffocate. Gru was saying something, couldn't make out his words, sounded urgent. The woman was screaming in my ear, a litany of curses, threats, and horrible things she was going to do to me. Unconsciousness called me, seductive, safe, painless, free of threats. Can't read tonight. If it was even unconsciousness, oh my god. The chilling idea that I could be dying dawned on me, gave me the briefest moment of clarity. I focused hard on the jumble of distorted images and sounds
where I was what people were saying and screaming at me. The woman was rolling on the ground next to me as she kicked her leg. A splatter of blood marred on the one lens of my mask that I could see through. What was her name? What was the woman's name again? Bakura. The very tip of the knife was still lodged in the pavement where her foot had been. There was a lot of things I'd hit. That was the hard thing I'd hit. Pavement, not armor. There's a lot of blood. Hers, a bit on her boot. Holy shit, guys. A bit of her boot, pink and crimson. 2 smaller toes with painted nails, pink and crimson, in the midst of the mess of blood. I tried and failed to pull the knife free, though it was embedded in a 1/4 inch deep in the ground. The effort left me gasping for breath with big lungfuls of air. Every breath made me feel like I'd inhaled barbed wire and hot irons were pressing against my sides. I was praying the urge to vomit would go away, knowing that it wouldn't. Gru, what was he saying? I could barely understand Bakuda with her robotic enunciation. Understanding Gru was a dozen times harder, like another language. Live niva knife, yef knife, the knife. He needed it. I let myself fall onto my front, face forward the ground so I wouldn't choke. The knife-holding hand stayed out, but my arms bent at a bad angle, eliciting a stab of pain. My wrist and elbow awkwardly twisted, strained to return to a natural position. I resisted the urge to let go, kept my grip on the knife handle. The ground gave before I did, and the knife came free. My arms straightened, stretching out in front of me. The knife gripped the back of my gloved hand. I looked it up from the knife to see a blurry image of Gru struggling under his bonds, the last thing I saw before darkness and merciful lack of consciousness claimed me. I think this is the last chapter before the interlude. Let me just check real quick. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I love this. I love that fight. It's very, very, very cool to me. Whew. We actually might be able to... we'll see. We'll see what time we get at. We'll see if we can read any of part 5. I'm pretty sure part 5 is kind of long. Oh no, it's actually shorter than this. Cool. Oh, part 5 is another cool fight too. I think that's the cool fight. I think. Maybe. And that's part 6. Who knows? Anyway. Shell 4.11. Hey, Taylor, wake up. A girl's voice. Taylor. A deep, more adult voice. Come on, kiddo. You've done really well. I felt warm, fuzzy, like waking up in a warm bed on a cold day all the covers in the right place, feeling totally rested, knowing you don't have to get up right away. Like being 6 years old, having crawled into bed with mom and dad at some point during the night and waking up between them. I think she's gradually coming to. Give her a moment. Someone older, an old man maybe, unfamiliar. I was worried she wouldn't wake up, the deeper male voice said. Could have told you she wasn't in a coma, the girl replied. The same way you've absolutely 100% positive she doesn't have a serious brain injury, the old man said. Because narcotics can camouflage the symptoms, and if we wait too long to take action on that, well, nothing beyond what I described to you, the girl said just a bit testily. Unless our equipment's faulty, I need correct information to work with this, or I get false info. I assure you my equipment may be limited, but it's in perfect working condition. I tried opening my eyes, found everything too bright. Foggy, like I was looking at it from underwater. My eyes were sandpaper dry. Something dark moved over my vision, made my eyelids flicker. Something else tickled my cheek. I tried to raise my hand to my face to brush at them. My arms were at my sides, buried under sheets, and I didn't have the strength to move them. Hey, Sleepy. The deeper voice once more. I felt a large hand rest on my forehead. It moved to brush my hair back, reminding me of my mom and dad again, being a kid, being taken care of. The old man and the girl were still arguing, her tone impatient. A concussion, severe blood loss, bruising, and a concussion, severe blood loss, bruising, external and internal, plus whatever it is that fucked with their nervous system. Understand? I have no reason to lie to you. All I'm telling you is that if there is something else and complications result, it's on you. Because I'm taking your word on this. I'd rather the girl not die or wind up brain damage, of course, but if she does, I would feel guilty, and if something happens and because I was wrong and it isn't on you, and it isn't because you gave me the wrong information or tools to work with, I'll own up. I'll tell him, and your reputation will be unaffected. Promise. The old man grumbled and mumbled, but he didn't say anything more. Tried opening my eyes again, recognized the face. Brian. Lisa joined him at the bedside. Hey there, she said, her tone sympathetic. You got walloped, huh? Guess so, I replied. I didn't expect what I wasn't sure I said so out loud. I might have been drifting back to sleep, but another tickle on my face made me wrinkle my nose. What is that, honey, is the only reason we've been trying to wake you up. You've been using your power while you sleep, and every bug in the neighborhood has been gathering here to crawl on you. Not all at once, not all together, but they've been adding up, and someone's gonna notice. Brian looked across the room. We've got the windows and doors sealed with saran wrap and tape, and they're still getting in. Can't take you anywhere like this, and the good doctor here needs to clear us out in case a real patient comes in. What I need is a sterile work environment, the old man groused. One that isn't ridden with cockroaches in it. We're handling it, Lisa snapped at him. Then in a softer voice she said, Taylor, don't go to sleep. I was surprised to realize I was drifting off. Funny. I know painkillers are nice. We gave you boatloads since you were really hurting. But we need you to send them away. The bugs. Oh. I dimly recalled telling my bugs to come to me not long before I passed out. I guess I hadn't even told them to stop. I guess blacking out had prevented me. I sent an instruction, then told her. Good as done. It caught my attention. Interesting music. Music? Lisa momentarily looked very concerned. She looked at Brian. Outside, in the front door, a smartphone maybe. There's a guy listening to music. Maybe he doesn't have the headphones on or buds in his ears. Aren't they plugged into the phone himself? Sounds a bit like orchestra or pop. Is it Latin? English? Both? Last bit sounded Japanese, Chinese. Is it racist if I can't tell the difference? You're babbling, Taylor, Brian said, not unkindly. Lisa momentarily disappeared from my field of vision. But she's right. There's a guy on the steps out front listening to music. How did you know? Moth on the door. I was so busy listening I forgot to make her go. I'm sorry. Shh. Relax. It's fine. Just send the bugs away and you can go back to sleep. We're handling everything, okay? It was okay. I drifted off. I was jostled from a dream. Careful? I am being careful. Stop being so twitchy. Just close the car door. I'm not being twitchy. You almost dropped her a few seconds ago. I swear if you drop her on her head, I won't. The words were like a bass vibration against one side of my body, as much as they were noise in my ears. I was in the warm side of my body, too. It smelled nice, like leather and shaving cream. I started to say something, then stopped. Too much effort. A girl's voice not far from my ear said, Hey there, Taylor. Making a bit of sound? You waking up? I shook my head and pressed my cheek hard against the warm body. She laughed. A knocking sound. Classic rhythm of shaving a haircut. 2 bits. The door opened a moment later. God, Taylor. The girl, Lisa, I recognize now, responded. She's okay, just sleeping. Like I said on the phone, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry. I've completely blanked on your name. But I can help you. Can I help you carry her inside? Actually, I'm alright. And I think I'd be more likely to drop her if we tried to adjust it in a 2-person carry. Oh, that's Brian. Actually, I'm alright. I think I'd be more likely to drop her if we tried and adjust it in a 2-person carry. Name's Brian. Brian, okay, thank you. If you could just bring her through here. After you called, I didn't know what to do with myself. I made up the sofa bed in case we couldn't get her upstairs, or if there was a wheelchair. I was thinking the worst. The couch is fantastic, Lisa said. She's most definitely not on the worst shape she could be in, or even close to it. She's going to sleep a lot, and you'll have to check on her every half hour to make sure she's okay for the next 12 hours. Besides, she might have to watch TV between naps. She might want to watch TV between naps, so it looks like a perfect place to be.
Chinese or Japanese?
Okay, good. I was laid out flat and instantly missed the warmth and closeness I'd had moments before. Someone pulled drier, warm covers and a heavy comforter around me, and I decided I could cope. Would you come through the kitchen? Our house is small, and I'm afraid there's nowhere to sit in our living room with the sofa bed out. In the kitchen, it will be quieter. But we'll still able to see if she wakes up, Lisa answered. Makes sense. Can I get you anything? Tea? Coffee? Coffee, please, Brian replied. Long night. Would it be okay if I asked for tea when you're already busy with coffee, Mr. Haybear? After you're done making the tea, the least as I can do, but please, call me Danny. If I'd been comfortable in the morphine-induced haze before, I was very, very awake the moment I'd heard the name and realized the voices and names I recognized had no business being together. Dad, Lisa, and Brian. At my kitchen table. I kept my eyes half shut and hung on every word. She's okay? Like I said on the phone, she's all right, Lisa said. Concussion, bruising, some blood loss, 9 stitches. Should I take her to a doctor? You can, but my dad's a doctor and he looked her over in this clinic. Pulled strings to get her a CT scan, MRI. He wanted to be absolutely sure there was no brain damage before he gave her stronger painkillers. Here, I've got the bottle in one of these pockets. There. It's codeine. She's probably going to have some major headaches, and she was moaning in her sleep about her pain in her extremities. Give her 1 pill 4 times a day, but only if she really feels she needs it. If she's okay as it is, just wean her off. 2 a day or half a pill 4 times a day. How much? The codeine, 4 pill, the CT scan, MRI, prescription. If you just give me a second to grab my wallet, I'll give... I could picture Lisa holding her hand, stopping him. She's a friend, Danny. My papa would never ever hear of having you pay. So surreal. Hearing the words from my dad's name or the word papa from Lisa's mouth. I have no words. Thank you. It's fine, really. I feel guilty. We feel guilty, Brian cut in. For letting it happen. That Taylor got the brunt of it, and I'm sorry that we didn't call you sooner. We had to wait for Taylor to wake up and get coherent enough to give us your phone number. I was pretty sure I hadn't. Probably made this one of those creepy tattletale moments when she had been able to figure out something I wouldn't have guessed she could. That's all right. Your friends are okay? Rachel's more scratched and bruised than Taylor, but she didn't get a concussion, and she's a tough girl. My guess is she's sleeping soundly at home, and she'll be up around this afternoon. Alec, our other friend, passed out when this happened, and woke up with a bad headache, but he's all right. We've been teasing him about how he fainted, and it's been bugging him, as if guys never faint. And you too? A little worse for wear, but I could tell you just by looking at us, obviously. Scrapes, bruises, bumps. I got burned, just a bit. No worse than a bad sunburn. Not around your eyes, I see. Lisa laughed, so naturally you'd think twice about it. Yeah, I was wearing sunglasses when it happened. It's that noticeable? Not so bad, and if it's like a sunburn, you'll be fine in a few days. Can you tell me more about what happened? On the phone, you said something about a bomb. You seen the news? Explosions across the city all night and morning, yes. The incident at the PHQ. All started by one of the parahumans. I can't remember her name. Sounded Japanese. Bakuda, right? Yeah, pretty sure you've heard of it. We were cutting through the docks on our way back to the Lord Street Market, and I guess we were in the wrong place at the wrong time. 1 second everything's normal, then disaster. Brian was carrying Taylor's bags when she retied her shoes, so she had been a bit behind us when it happened. Brian and I stood up after the explosions, and Alec, Rachel, and Taylor didn't. Taylor was the scariest to see lying there because you could see the blood right away. God. I opened my eyes just to peek and saw my dad at the kitchen table, his face in his hands. I swallowed a fist-sized lump of guilt and shut my eyes again. Brian's voice. I feel bad about it. I couldn't have walked ahead of Taylor while she was tying her shoes, or... Brian, if you had been standing beside her, you would have wound up in the same shape as her and you wouldn't have been able to carry her home, Lisa objected. It was my fault for suggesting we cut through the docks. I have to ask, my dad started. Why? He trailed off, unable to find a good way to phrase it. We normally wouldn't have taken a shortcut through that part of town, Lisa said. But there were 5 of us, and look at Brian. You want to mess with a big guy like him? Gee, thanks, Lisa, Brian said. Then he and my dad laughed together. So surreal. I know it sounds strange, my dad spoke hesitantly. But after you told me about it was a ball on the phone, I couldn't believe it. I thought it maybe was a mean prank or Taylor had come across, the bullies. Lisa finished my dad's sentence. You know? She explained a lot about it, including what happened in January. All of us made it clear we'd help if she'd ask, however much or little she wanted. I see, I'm glad she's found someone to talk to about it. Lisa answered. But you're disappointed that someone wasn't you. If guilt caused you physical pain, I think that would have been like a shiv through my heart. My dad inexplicably laughed. Well, aren't you eerily on target? Taylor did say you were smart. She did she? That's nice to hear. What else did she say? My dad laughed again. I'll quit now before I say something that she would rather keep private. I think we both know she plays things close to the vest. Too true. And there's homemade cookies in the jar there, still warm. After I got the couch ready, I didn't know what to do. I had to work out the anxiety somehow, so I baked. Make yourselves at home while I see to your tea and coffee. Thank you, Danny, Lisa said. I'm gonna go to the living room and check on Taylor, if that's cool. Please do. Just gotta grab a cookie first. It smells good. I shut my eyes and pretended to be sleeping. I could hear Brian talking to my dad in the other room, something about my dad's job. So? Lisa asked me in a quieter voice as she climbed onto the sofa bed to lie beside me. Does that story pass muster? I thought about it. I don't like you lying to my dad. So he did the lying for you, unless you want to tell him the truth. No, but I don't want you here. The mental brakes that should have stopped on my lips from moving failed to keep the words from leaving my mouth. I closed my eyes, feeling the heat of a flush in my cheeks. I'm so sorry that came out wrong. I'm grateful for what you did, what you're doing. You guys are awesome, and hanging out with you has been some of the most fun I've had in years. I'm so glad you're here. But it's nothing better to just kick back and unwind after all that. But Lisa put a finger to my lips, silencing me. I know. You like keeping different parts of your life separate. I'm sorry, but there wasn't a way around it. You were hurt, and we couldn't keep you without your dad causing a stir. I lowered my eyes. Yeah. You're probably going to be a little wobbly for a few days. Your, brutal honesty just now is probably the concussion at work. It's going to influence your mood and maybe loosen your inhibitions as if you were a bit drunk. Your memory might be a little unreliable, you might be more disorganized, or you might just have extreme mood swings like crying jags. You might have a harder time reading social cues. You work on getting all that, and we'll shrug it off like you said something, shrug it off if you say something you wouldn't. Just try not to try not to let anything private slip around your dad, so nothing slips. All of this should pass before too long. Okay. Last part was something of a relief. Brian joined us and sat in the corner of my bed opposite where Lisa was lying by my feet. Your dad's an alright guy, he told me. Reminds me a lot of you. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just said, thanks. Even after you recovered most of the way, I think we'll go out of our way to stay out of hairy situations, at least for a little bit, Lisa said. Brian nodded. I like that idea, I replied. So what really happened last night? She moved her head so she was sharing my pillow. Starting from when? From when Alec crashed the car. 1 second everything was fine, the next I can barely move, barely think. She was playing possum. I was too busy looking after Alec, assuming you guys were watching her. At the same time, you and Brian, I guess, were assuming I'd keep an eye on her. While we weren't paying attention, she loaded her grenade launcher and shot you. It should have burned you, but I think your costume saved you there. Your costume couldn't do much to prevent the concussion, though. There was some secondary effect, and when it did, something
something to your nervous system, like being jabbed with a taser, but more about incapacitating you with unadulterated pain than knocking you out. I shivered, just remembering what it had made me felt like twitch. I was hearing felt like twitch, like hearing nails on a chalkboard. Twitch, funny. I was farther away, and I think your body shielded Brian, or maybe his powers helped, because we didn't get hit half as hard. It was still enough to put the two of us down long enough for Bakuda to load and fire 2 rounds of this gluey string crap. Once that happened, we were pretty fucked, until you turned the tables. I stabbed her foot, I remembered. Cut off the 2.5 of the toes that on her foot, one of which had a toe ring. Brian said you pushed the knife toward him as you passed out. He blacked out the area, managed to reach the knife and cut himself free, and then rescued the rest of us. And Bakuda? I whispered. One of the 2 bits of bad news. She got away while Brian was getting free and helping us. Fuck, I said a touch too loud. Brian sounded apologetic. You were in bad shape, and I wasn't sure what had happened to Regent, and Lisa was a little more feeble from the same blast that messed you up like it did. I couldn't have caught up to Bakuda, stopped her. But I decided to make sure you guys were okay and was more. But I decided making sure you guys were okay was more important. I nodded. I couldn't exactly argue with that. Lisa continued. I called the boss. He sent us a doctor who had a reputation for being discreet and working with parahumans. Been doing it 20 years. We were worried about you. Sorry. Nothing to apologize for. It all more or less worked out. The doc got the capsule out of Brian's nose, patched you up, and gave Regent an IV. I sat and watched you while Brian went and got Rach, her dog, and the money. Only 2,000 or 3,000 gone that someone thought they could get away with grabbing the bag before it was all counted. Our boss sent a van and picked it up for a little after midnight. Money he'd already given us is at our apartment, with more to come after he decided after he decided what the papers are worth. You said it more or less worked out. And you still haven't told me the other second piece of bad news. What aren't you saying? She sighed. I was hoping you were too out of it to ask. You really want to know? Not really, but if I'm going to lie here for a while, getting better, I don't want to be left to imagine worst-case scenarios. Okay. She fished inside her jacket pocket. Len handed me a newspaper clipping. Except it was torn, not clipped. Newspaper ripping. Across the top, in bold letters, was the word escaped. When I tried to read the article, though, I found I couldn't keep my eyes fixed on one line. Read it to me? I'll give you the cliff notes. Just before the sea started to come after us in the Jeep, Bakuda gave the order to pull another plan into action. Bombs started to go off all over the city, blowing up transformers to deny power to entire districts, a school, a bridge, train tracks, the list goes on. People were freaking out. Front page news. It's on every channel. They're saying at least 20 people confirmed dead so far, with other bodies yet to be identified. And that's not counting the 4 people she blew up when she was holding us at gunpoint. A vivid imagery of what had happened to Park Ji-hoo flashed through my mind's eye. He died. He's really dead. I never knew him, but he's gone forever, and I couldn't do anything to save him. Here's the second piece of bad news. All that, it was one overblown distraction. Something to keep every cage in the city while Oni Lee sprung lung from the PHQ.
He's out, boys. Our boy is out.
I let out a long sigh. Oh, fuck. The city's a war zone now. The ABB is 12 times the size of what it was 2 weeks ago, and Bakuda's gone on a rampage. More bombs are going off every few hours, but they're not aimed at major services this time. Businesses, tenements, warehouses, boats. My guess she's targeting places the other major gangs and factions of the city hang out, or places they might hang out. I don't know what's going to happen. You think that having a third of her toes cut off would slow her down, if anything? Lisa shook her head. She's in a manic phase. She'll burn out if she hasn't already, and the explosions will stop in a matter of hours. With Lung reinstated as a leader, that doesn't mean the ABB is going to lose any steam. Chances are he'll capitalize on the major advantage Bakuda created for him. Just a question of when, where, when, and how much. Depends on the shape he's in. We didn't get the chance to talk further on the subject. Telltale raised a finger to her lips, and we shut up.
few moments later, my dad walked in the living room holding a tray. He put it on my lap. 3 mugs, a plate of cookies, and 2 toasted bagels. One with jam and one with butter. Got another bagel in the toaster, so help yourselves and ask if you want more. Green mug is Brian's coffee. Tea for you girls. Here you are, Lisa. Woodstock mug is Taylor's favorite since she was a kid. Here. Brian chuckled a little as I accepted the mug with 2 hands. Hey, don't laugh at me while I'm like this. Which reminds me, how long before she's okay to return to be up and about? My dad asked Lisa. A week, bare minimum. Maybe escort her to and from the bathroom until you're sure she's steady on her feet. But beyond that, probably best if she stays in bed, stays home and takes it easy until next Saturday. That stopped me.
What about school?
Cool with Bakuda killing all the Nazis.
Yeah. It's just that I don't think she's aiming for anybody in particular.
Lisa nudged my upper arm with her elbows and grinned. You got a perfect excuse. You got a perfect excuse not to go. Why complain? Because I'd be forced myself to go to the school after missing nearly a week of classes with the intention of not skipping any more, and now I was going to miss another full week. I couldn't say that, especially not in front of my dad. Okay if we stay for a bit? Lisa murmured in my ear the moment my dad left to go get the 3rd bagel. Yeah, I admitted. The damage was done, so to speak, and they were already here. I might as well make the best of it. I scooted over for Brian could sit on the bed, just to my left, and Lisa got up for a second to grab the remote. She found a movie that only a few minutes in as she settled in on my right. Momentarily dozed off and woke to realize my head was resting on Brian's arm. Even after my eyes opened and I started to focus on the movie again, I left my head where it was. He didn't seem to mind. The 3 of us laughed at a series of jokes in the movie, and Lisa got the hiccups only made Brian and I laugh harder. I saw my dad puttering around in the kitchen, probably to keep an eye on me, and our eyes met. I gave a little wave, not moving my arm, just my hand, and smiled. The smile he gave me in return was maybe a first truly genuine one I'd seen his face in quite a long time. The school thing, I'd worry about it later if it meant I could live in the present like this.
Oh, it's so fucking sweet. Taylor has friends now. It's so fucking sweet. I love it. All right. Yeah, this interlude. Yeah, we'll do this interlude and then we'll call it for the night. Because it's from the point of view of one of Bitch's dogs. Yeah, I love that. I love this part. This part is real. I'm gonna say that a lot because if you guys don't know, I like this series. I think it's really cool. But I remember my mind just being blown by the fight with Bakuda when I first read this. It's really good. I like it a lot. And only at the cost of a couple bombings. Yeah, exactly. Just a couple people dead, you know. Oh, my mind was blown. Haha, you guys get it? You guys get it? Bomb joke? Funny. Guys laugh. Please. Alright, we're getting close to time. I can't meme around. We're getting close to, like, you know, over my limit here. So let me just take another sip of water. Interlude 4. A whistle. Brutus's ears perk up. Already jumping off the bed as a second whistle comes just after the first. 2 whistles like that means come. Master only asks for dogs to come to the front of the stairs if it's time for walkies. Walkies are Brutus's favorite thing. I love how wholesome this interlude is. Other dogs are bumping shoulders with Brutus in a hurry to get to Master. Turn corners too fast, claws scratch at the floor to get a grip. Fall a little, Judas hesitates, sniffles, but Angelica's ahead of Brutus now. Bad girl. Brutus snarls at a little at Angelica. She backs away, drops behind. Brutus is top dog. Angelica should know that. Brutus arrives at Master first, the way it should be. Brutus is top dog, but Master is alpha, leader of the pack. Not leader of her people pack, but that's okay. She bends down and scratches all over Brutus's neck and shoulders, deep, rough. Perfect scratches because they dig through Brutus's thick fur. Tail is wagging so hard that back paws are slipping off the floor. Fall over and turn belly up so Master can scratch it. She does it in it is ecstasy. Master is hurt and hurting. Brutus knows that. When she bends down, she's moving more slowly. She's making little sounds as she makes bigger movements like bending down and standing up. She smells like dry blood and stress and sweat in ways she usually doesn't. Angelica, Judas, stay, Master says, not taking you two. Brutus doesn't understand, but Master sounds apologetic. Like when she was walking up the stairs and accidentally kicked Brutus in the chin because she was following too closely behind her. She scratches each of them in turn, not enthusiastic scratches. They're happy to be scratched, but they aren't coming for walkies. Brutus's tail stops wagging. Is Brutus not coming for walkies? Master picks up a leash. Brutus, good boy. Walkies? This is so fucking wholesome. Are you an alpha dog? No. No, I'm not. I'm a beta male. Tail's wagging crazy hard again. Master tells Brutus to sit. Brutus sits. Is good boy. Master puts plastic bag in back pocket, puts on backpack. Backpack unusual. Master doesn't usually bring backpack for walkies. Errand? We're going on an errand, okay, boy? Master speaks. Brutus's tail wags. Brutus was right. Errands are interesting. Brutus eagerly takes a few steps forward before remembering to be a good boy. Master doesn't like it when Brutus pulls on leash. She puts on shoes, gets the keys that jangle, gets crinkly wrapper that she sometimes eats that Brutus can't because Brutus is a dog. Crinkly wrapper things go in left pocket. She gets treats for dogs to put into her right pocket. Stops, gives treats to Judas and Angelica. Treat for Brutus? Treats later, Mass says. Later is a familiar word, but meaning unclear. Brutus feels crushing disappointment as treats go in Master's right pocket. Jumps up a little to remind Master she forgot to give a treat. Master makes an angry clucking noise and Brutus is sorry now. Tail down, ears down. Bitch, hold up. Speak the scentless man. Scentless man makes Brutus nervous because he is big but has no smell. But he's Master's alpha, so Master stops and listens. You going out? Scentless man says. Work, Master says. The scentless man waits for something and speaks again. Are you okay? Fucking peachy. Brutus knows Master only says fuck word like that when she's mad. When is she not? I have a hard time believing you, to be honest. You were pretty in rough shape when I found you with Uber and Leeds henchmen, and those guys were with the ABB. I'm fine now, Master tells him. She sounds angry. Brutus steps forward, ready to growl to add her own voice to hers, but Master tugs on his leash just a little and Brutus stays quiet. When I found you, one of them had tied you to a ceiling by your wrists and was using you as a punching bag. Master breaks eye contact. Brutus knows that this is a sign that Master sees the scentless man as her alpha. When she speaks, she still sounds angry. I fucked up. I was bored, restless, figured I'd walk Angelica and see if I could meet you guys where the money was. Someone recognized me and tailed me. I was stupid. I took my licks for it. I'm fine now. We have the money. All's well. Scentless man sighs. Sounds a little angry as he says, It's not... No, never mind. No use getting into it. But if someone recognizes you while you're walking him, I'll fight back sooner, harder. Or are you going to tell me I can't walk my dogs anymore? All of a sudden, Master is tense. Brutus can see it in her legs, hear it in her voice, feel it in her grip on the leash. I wouldn't do that, the scentless man replies, his voice quiet, slightly strained. And you wouldn't listen even if I did. Just be careful. I can go? Go. Enjoy your walk. Both of you. The tension leaves Master. One small whistle Brutus knows to follow, down the stairs and out the door into the outside world. So many smells, so many sounds, so exciting. But can't get too excited. Brutus is good boy. Doesn't pull on leash like Angelica does. Master always makes angry clucking sounds at Angelica on walkies. Master's getting slower, favoring one leg. Brutus is eager for walkies but doesn't pull on leash even if Master is walking slower. So many smells. Being in own territory is good, but being on walkies is smelling the whole world. Always new things. Always new things to smell about old things. Smell this pee and know almost everything about the dog who peed. Bitch, maybe in heat soon. Lives with kids. Pee smells like stress and eating too much grass and sleeping too much and being a fat dog.
Smell that poo to know about the dog who pooed. Hungry dog. Hungry dog's master probably hungry too. Maybe like that. Maybe like that here. Many like that here. Not like Brutus's old home. No people or dogs were hungry. But Brutus remembered being unhappy. Master was always ignoring Brutus, leaving Brutus in basement alone all day until Brutus stopped Badman, who came in basement window. Is okay now. We're getting a little bit of backstory. Brutus is happy with new master. Smell that pee. Human pee. Not as interesting. Master whistles to remind Brutus to keep up. No more sniffing for now. Brutus, sit. Stay. Master orders. Brutus sits and stays while Master stands beside him. Is good boy. Gets scratches by Master. Little female human is walking up to Brutus, smaller than Brutus. Pats at Brutus, pokes. One poke in the eye. Brutus is ears down, head down, tail between legs. Not good scratches. Little human laughs. Poke again in Brutus's side. Brutus looks at Master, pleading. Master's not saying anything to Brutus, so Brutus stays while being poked. Little human grabbing Brutus's fur on side and pulling too hard. Like Angelica when Angelica was new to Master's pack, biting and pulling and making Brutus bleed. Bad memory. Growl start in Brutus's throat. No, Brutus, off. Master orders. Brutus lowers head. No more growling. Still being poked. Still being pulled at. Big female human that smells like the little human arrived. Is walking fast. Big female human stops and laughs at Brutus and little human. Aren't they cute? Another laugh. Master doesn't laugh. Well, kids will be kids. Master speaks, her voice even but her body language angry. Watch your fucking child. Brutus knows watches order for Brutus to sit and stay and bark if anyone comes, but Master is talking to Big Female and not talking to Brutus. One word Brutus knows is fucking, which means Master is mad, but Brutus isn't the one she's saying fucking to, so it's okay. Brutus thinks maybe it's okay to growl now because Master said fucking, so he growls. Smells fear from little human and Big Female. Master doesn't say no, so it's okay for Brutus to growl. Big Female laughs, but laugh sounds different than before. Shrill, waves her hand. Bends down to pick up little human. Brutus, guard. Master orders. Brutus looks quickly at Master, and Master is pointing at little human, so Brutus moves between little human and Big Female and growls at Big Female. Big Female backs away. Brutus smells a lot of fear now. Smelling sweat and stress and hearing little noises of worry and fear from the Big Female's little human. Big Female steps to one side and Brutus moves to stay between her little human. She bends down again and Brutus growls, snaps at her fingers. Is good boy. Big Female talks to Master. Please, she was just doing what kids do. She thinks all dogs are cuddly. Her voice was submissive, sounding like more worry and fear. Brutus, mouth. Brutus looks where Master is pointing and Master is pointing at human. Brutus obeys it by grabbing little human's arm and holding it with his mouth. Is good boy. Little human howls and tries to pull away, but Brutus closes the mouth a little each time little human soon understands that the arm is staying in Brutus's mouth. Then Master tells Big Female, he's an abused dog, you know. Before I owned him, he was mistreated. Until he hurt someone so badly they needed amputation. I rescued him before he was put down, and you just let your kid walk up to him and start clawing at him. Do you understand what could have happened? That he could have killed or maimed your fucking mouth breather of a child? Yeah, goddamn.
Goddamn, bitch.
Brutus only knows his own name and word kill. Other words don't mean anything to Brutus. Kill is order to attack and not stop until that thing isn't moving anymore. Master only gives Brutus and Judas and Angelica an orders to kill with squirrels and raccoons and once a horse. Big Female is now on her knees, and fear and smell is all Brutus can get right now. Is all Brutus can smell right now. It's good to be lower than Master and showing submission. Big Woman is saying things, but Brutus can't understand why she's talking and not stopping. Brutus, off. Come. Master says, and Brutus lets go of the arm and walks to Master's side. A little human still howling. Then Master just tells the female the same thing as before. Watch your fucking child. Walkies begin again. Get scratched. Master says Brutus is good boy, and Brutus is happy. Tail wagging. Brutus is a good boy. Of course he's a good boy. His long walkies before Brutus and Master stop at a place that smells like blood and dog fear and dog rage and pee and poop. Master knocks on the door. Man who opens the door smells like blood. Master and man talk for a little while, and Brutus waits because Brutus is good boy. Not paying attention to what they're saying because of smells. Bad smells. Sounds of dogs yelping and barking from inside the door. Then Master says stay, and man starts touching Brutus. Touches like vet touches, not like Master scratching. Feeling each part of Brutus, fingers deep in fur to massage, check. Hands on Brutus's private parts. Says things that sound negative, shakes head. Master talks some more, man stands and shakes her hand. Master takes Brutus into a place that smells like blood and dog fear and dog rage. Noisy. Lots of people sitting in dark. Smelling like excitement and sweat.
So Brutus is he's just a big dog.
He's just a big dog. I think he's a Doberman, if I'm not mistaken.
Most bright lights in the middle of the room where blood smells the strongest. Man from door tells Master, put him in that gate. Master puts Brutus in something that like a kennel that smells like rage and fear. Man talks in loud voice, and all the people in the room howl and make more noise.
Absolute unit.
Man says Brutus's name. He says kill, which is a word Brutus knows, but blood smell is so strong here that Brutus can't pay attention to anything much else. So much blood from so many dogs, so many smells. Then the kennel is open and Brutus has nowhere to go but the center of the room. Can't go to Master because boxes are in there, and there's another dog here, bigger than Brutus, that smells like rage and his own blood, and the other dog blood and death. Then Brutus feels it. Master is making Brutus stronger, and it hurts, but it's a good hurt. Good hurt like when Brutus is stiff and stretches and joints snap and pop, and Brutus feels better because of it. Only the stretch doesn't stop, and Brutus keeps popping and cracking, and Brutus keeps feeling better and better and Brutus gets bigger. Master usually takes longer to make Brutus this strong but Brutus is in room alone with dog that smells like blood and death, and Master knows Brutus needs to be stronger. Soon Brutus is bigger than Master and as big as car, and Brutus is strong. Bad dog that smells like blood and death is cowering.
I kind of wonder if he Oh, he's a Rottweiler? Oh, then there's another one who's a Doberman. I don't remember which. I think it was Judas who's a Doberman then. He's a Rottweiler. Also, don't go on the wiki. You'll get spoiled. Don't do that. Don't go on the wiki.
Then Master whistles twice in order for it to come, and Brutus is confused because there's no room.
I kind of wonder, did he put this like through a grammar checker, or did he just like say fuck it? I think a grammar checker would have a fucking heart attack
if this chapter was posted inside of it. Master whistles again and calls Brutus' name, and Brutus lunges for boxes that are in the way. Boxes break, and Brutus come to Master like a good boy. Brutus, guard, Master says, and Brutus goes to where Master is pointing, and that is door where all people who smell like fear are going. To get to the door and guard it, Brutus uses his paws to push people out of the way and grab one person's arm and fling her to one side, like Brutus likes to fling his favorite toys and person make shrill howl. Then Brutus is guarding door, and people are running other way. It reminds Brutus of squirrels and how squirrels run. But people are not as fast or clever as squirrels, and they don't pay unfair attention to running up trees. Brutus, attack! Master shouts, and Brutus obeys like a good boy. Brutus uses paws and teeth and sighs to jump into the crowd of people who are running like squirrels and make them stop running. Brutus knows it's bad to shake people like Brutus shakes toys or shakes squirrels. No shaking, no chewing. Bite arm and leg only. No biting heads. Using paws is okay, but claws aren't, which is hard, so Brutus mostly bites and slams people people with head and body to knock them over and make them stop. Sometimes uses tail, which is new and fun. Brutus doesn't have tail when small. Lots of people. Every time Brutus thinks all the people have stopped moving, someone runs again. Takes a long time. Brutus's tongue lolls out, panting. Tail wags and boxes break, and Master makes clucking noise like Brutus did something bad. No more wagging tail.
People lying on the floor whimpering, smell like blood and fear. Nobody use running like squirrel anymore. Master shouts, "No more." And it is worded for the people, and it is worded for people and not for Brutus. Both are words Brutus knows. No means bad, and is for things Brutus shouldn't do. More is what Master says when giving treats or throwing balls or filling bowls with food. Brutus doesn't understand because one word is bad and the other is good. But Master is alpha, and Master knows, so it's okay. Master takes jangly keys from whimpering person and picks up cage with angry dogs inside that smell like blood. Master takes cage outside and puts it in the car and tells Brutus to guard the cans. Some people leave place, but Brutus doesn't let anyone near cars. Is good boy. Master goes inside and gets more cages with the angry dogs and puts them all in the car. Then Master does it again. Master gets backpack and uses ropes from backpack to tie cages together and tie cages into the car. Then Master goes inside for the long time and doesn't come out. People are gone, so Brutus doesn't need to guard anymore. Brutus goes to Master inside. Master is kneeling beside a cage and dogs inside smelling like blood and poo. But dogs aren't angry, aren't moving. Brutus nuzzles Master with nose and lies down beside Master, and Master wraps her arms around Brutus's neck. Master hugs Brutus for a very long time. Brutus knows that is long time because Brutus stops being big and becomes small like Master. Cars that make howling sounds start to come from far away, and Brutus makes little barks like Master taught him. Master gets up and takes Brutus into car and gets in the other door and the car starts moving. Master opens the door and eats crinkly thing from pocket. Master gives Brutus a treat, then rolls down the window so Brutus can stick his head out in the window, and Brutus' tail wags because Brutus knows he was a good boy. And that is where we're ending off for the night. I hope you all enjoyed. This part was a lot of fun. I'll see y'all back here tomorrow. We'll read half of part 5. Then Tuesday, you know what time it is. You already know what time it is. That's all you have to know. Brutus is a good boy. That's all you have to know. That's all you gotta know, dude. Yeah. All right. We're ending off here. So everyone have a safe night. And I hope to see you all here tomorrow. Good night, guys.